This week on the podcast, we talk about a little movie that ended a legendary actor's career. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Dissect That Film Podcast, where we dissect the good, the bad, and the ugly of your favorite films and film franchises. I am your host, Brett Parker. Joining me, as always, my wonderful co-host, Dan and Angela of DNA Gaming.
Hello.
And joining us, I'm going to say once again, because he has been on this show once or twice before, but we have one of the hosts of the Cinema Guys and the man behind Tubi Tuesdays on TikTok and all the social medias. We have Brad. What's going on, Brad?
Thank you for having me back.
Absolutely.
It didn't just end one career; it ended two.
That is true. I you know what? I'm gonna have to re-record that intro. So
no, just go now.
No, we're gonna get to that. But yeah, today we are talking about 2003's A League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Are legendary. Their origins are unknown. Their methods are extreme. But when our future's at stake, they'll be the world's last hope. Extraordinary Gentlemen.
So yeah, this is an interesting movie because I haven't seen it in a long time. I don't know about all of you. We'll talk about our experiences with this movie in a little bit, but before we do, let's talk about a little of the behind the scenes of this movie, especially the fact, as we just stated, it ended pretty much two people's careers. The legendary Sean Connery, the man behind James Bond. He was Indiana Jones's dad in The Last Crusade, and he did many other movies throughout his illustrious career. From when did he start? In like the 50s? Is that when his career kind of started going? I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And then, of course, 2003 is where it all ended. And partially the reason, actually, I would say the majority of the reason was because of director Stephen Norrington, who we have talked about once before on the show, as he was also the director of Blade in 1998. So yeah, Stephen Norrington, and
that sums up his career.
Yeah, pretty much. They did not get along very much on this. Sean Connery, of course, is always from things I've read over his career. He wasn't very easy to work with. He especially somebody who has had a career as long as him and the roles he's had in his life. He had a lot of power, or at least he thought he did, for certain things. And so he stepped on Stephen Norrington's toes a lot. He pretty much directed certain things on his own, pissing off Norrington, having him walk out of things. Yeah, it got to the point where I think at one point Norrington literally just wanted him to punch him in the face. From a report I read, he literally walked up to Sean Connery and literally was like, just punch me. Just hit me. Yeah. I'm sick of this shit.
Get it over with.
And yeah, so it got to the point
they were not friends.
No. And
they did not send cards to each other afterwards.
No, they were both like, we're done. Because Stephen Norrington has not directed a film since, and Sean Connery would not do any more live action films after this. He would do a couple voiceover works in some really bad animated films. And when I say really bad, they're really bad. I'm not even going to name the movie. It's just terrible.
He said he fell out of love with Hollywood.
Yes,
because he didn't like the modern Hollywood.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a why, because I think the crazy thing about this movie is I feel people think that the reason like Sean Connery left Hollywood, and I don't think many people really knew about Stephen Norrington and what happened with him, because like I said, he really, the only two big things he did was Blade and this. You know, he did other movies, but these were his kind of like tentpoles. And yeah, I think a lot of people just thought, oh, it was just how bad the movie was. No, it wasn't, because to be honest, spoiler alert, this movie isn't that bad.
No.
It has its issues when it comes to, you know, it's early 2000s. It's got a lot of visual effects in it. With early 2000s, you know, work, the budget isn't as high as you would think when it comes to a movie that would use a lot of CGI. And yeah, there was some actors in here that maybe were just kind of getting into like these big roles, and some of the performances are kind of hit or miss. But overall, it's not that bad, everybody. But let's go around the room and talk about our experience watching this movie, you know, coming up for the show, or just tell us about your history with this movie. And we're going to start with our guest, Brad. What's your history with this movie? And what do you think?
I mean, I saw it opening day when it came out in the theaters, and I absolutely loved it when it came out. It was just a fun adventure action movie. I had no history with the comic before, so I didn't even know anything going in. But I enjoyed it, and I hadn't watched it in quite a few years. So when I watched it again this weekend, I was like, you know what? I still have fun with this movie. Some of its CG and effects, it does show its age for sure. But you know what? It's just a fun, mindless adventure movie.
Yeah.
My cup of tea.
Brad, we're actually changing the subject. We're going to talk about 65 tonight. Gotcha. I'm just kidding.
Hey, let's do it.
Brad really likes that movie, by the way. If anyone follows him on Twitter,
I don't.
Or sorry, X. Jesus Christ.
That's so dumb.
Yeah, it is dumb. It's edgy.
Not your view of the movie.
It's bold.
Stupid Twitter.
She's just trying to cover. It's bold.
No, stupid Twitter.
Oh man. All right.
That's a whole episode in itself, I think.
Make sure to schedule you in for that one. Dan, Angelo, what do you guys think?
I don't know. What do you want from me?
I want you to tell me your experience with this damn movie. That's what I want you to tell me.
Would you like to go first, dear?
Well, I don't remember the first time I watched this. I want to say that I know I was by myself. This was before me and him got together. But I want to say that I watched this on a Friday night after a football game. We had the movie theater would stay open later on Fridays for after the home football games, and I want to say that that's where I saw it.
It would have been about right, 2003. So
because I do remember, because there's other movies that I've watched around this time, but I can't, like, I was racking my brain all day trying to remember, because I knew you'd ask, and I was like, I don't remember, but I know I have watched it several times. I enjoy it every single time I watch it. Yeah, you know, it dates itself with, you know, certain scenes, but I would rewatch it again. I love literature. I love all the characters that these are based off of. Can you stop distracting me?
I'm literally not doing anything.
Yes, you are. You're doing things over here.
I'm sorry.
You're distracted. Mina Harker, our daughter's named after Mina Harker. You know, so that hits home. I could hear Sean Connery talk all day. That's just me.
He was a dragon once.
He was. Was that Dragonheart?
Yeah, he was the main dragon. He was the voice of dragon.
Which is funny because we just talked about it on our July live stream because someone mentioned it in our chat.
That's all relevant.
Yeah, all relevant.
No, so just replaying scenes in my head, it just I still love it.
This was a grandma movie. This was grandma had it on TV when you went over there. It's one of those things, and that's how I watched it multiple times. So I never seen it in theaters. Probably never would have seen this movie in any other circumstance. But it was just on. You go to grandma's house, she's watching it. You just chill out and watch it. That's it.
Yeah,
that's my history with. And I do have the comics, though I've never read them. I got them when I bought some from a friend. He's like, I'm going to sell you my own comics. I don't have anywhere. It was just in there. There's a couple of them. I don't know if it's all of them, but just a couple of the issues.
Yeah, this was definitely a movie that my grandma had on VHS, and I watched it a lot because I love Sean Connery mostly because Last Crusade is my favorite Indiana Jones movie, and I love The Rock with him and Nicolas Cage.
Oh, yeah.
And I had, of course, I had seen those movies before this had come out, and so of course, like Sean Connery's in a movie, I'm gonna see it. Like I wasn't a Bond guy. I wasn't like a lot of his like early stuff. That wasn't really something I cared about.
It was his later
stuff. Yeah. It's funny. He looks younger in this than he did in Last Crusade, which came out, 14, 15 years before this. So it's pretty wild.
I've seen some screenshots from that.
I think that was on purpose though, because he was supposed to be Harrison Ford's dad. And he was only like, I think he was born like 32. He was only like 10 years older than Harrison Ford, which was pretty funny.
I mean, at least they tried. There's some shows you watch and movies, you're like, ooh. Yeah, they're definitely not the younger ones.
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing this a lot of VHS with my grandma's, and then of course, like, it would always be on like USA or TNT or one of those channels. They'd always play this movie.
Yes.
And of course, I loved reading as a kid, and I read a lot of the books where these characters come from. So it was cool to see them in like a different light. And to be honest, when I saw this movie for the first time, and probably the first like 10 times I had seen this movie, I never knew there was a graphic novel behind it. I never knew there was anything that it was based on. And then I remember buying Watchmen, the graphic novel, not the movie. Mm-hmm. I went to Barnes & Noble, and because I had found out that they were making a movie, I bought the graphic novel. And then on the back, it would tell you, of course, about the author. And they talk about Alan Moore. And I was like, wait, what? Does that say League of Extraordinary Gentlemen? What? And I still haven't read them. And to be honest, after this latest viewing, I kind of want to go buy the collection of graphic novels and go through them because I've heard they're actually really good. But back to Alan Moore. I mean, he wrote a lot of legendary graphic novels. I mean, like I said, he did Watchmen. He did this. He did V for Vendetta, which was turned into a movie by the Wachowskis. He also did From Hell, which Brad mentioned. I didn't even know that. I knew it was based on a graphic novel, but I didn't know Alan Moore was behind it, which was also turned into a movie. I would love to cover that at some point. That's Johnny Depp and Heather Graham about Jack the. It's like an alternate universe Jack the Ripper story, which is so cool.
So good. But
yeah, he didn't like this movie, and he didn't really like most of the works that were. Yeah,
he doesn't like anything that. I don't think he likes movies.
To be honest, every time I would see an interview with him, he just seemed like a grumpy old man who just wanted people just leave him the fuck alone. Just leave me.
He just wants to be a wizard.
He looks like a wizard.
I don't know. Yeah.
He is a wizard. Holy shit. He's a time mage.
I kind of don't blame him for not liking certain things because coming from someone that reads a lot, when you see something based off a book or a graphic novel, you just can't get certain things in the movie because of time. So I kind of understand the not liking.
And I know there was a lot changed from his book. Like Tom Sawyer got added for American audiences.
Yeah.
And which he was the weakest character of the whole thing, I think.
We'll get to him.
I have gone to certain movies after reading books. Like I read Twilight before it was a movie.
Before it was cool.
And there was another series that came out.
50 Shades.
You read before it was cool.
That I read.
It's 50 Shades.
No. It was a
Twilight
different one.
fan-
No, see, I was the only one in
Divergent?
No.
You read those too, didn't you?
I can't remember what it's something to do with glass, and I cannot remember. It's upstairs. And I remember I was by myself, and I'm like, that's not how that happened. Literally
Fuck
out
this.
loud.
Throw something.
Because I'm like, there's certain things that you want to happen and you know are supposed to happen, and when they change it, it's like, no.
I think
Don't do
that's kind of like when people talk about like, hey, what are the problems with the Harry Potter book or movies? There's a lot of stuff from the books that they just didn't include, and that's what they plan on doing with the series that they're supposed to be doing.
We won't get into that either.
Yeah, no, we don't need to talk about more Harry Potter than we have to.
I could get into a rant about that too.
Well, because you're talking about Alan Moore and you mentioned his like standalone titles, and I just had to do a quick refresher because I remembered some of them off the top of my head. But Alan Moore has some influential books he did under the stead of DC Comics as well. Yep. Of course, he's The Killing Joke is probably his most famous, not Watchmen, superhero related thing.
I love it.
But he did a book I want to read, and if you know anything about DC lore, good, because this will make more sense. But I'm not going into it. He did a book called Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow, which actually gave a proper ending to the Silver Age Superman because he was never really given an ending, and I've always wanted to read that. And just various other runs. He had a huge influential run on Swamp Thing and made him relevant again. Captain Britain, he made him relevant again. Just a bunch of comics everywhere. He had he took a really shitty Superman clone from Image. Oh fuck, Supreme. Superman. Yeah, and he had a really good run where this Supreme was like an homage to Silver Age Superman, and I'm like, that's fucking cool. And like, I don't know, but I used to be a big superhero guy. I'm not really much anymore, but that's just stuff I know about.
Yeah, and it was also illustrated by Kevin O'Neill, the original graphic novels. He passed away last November. He did a lot of stuff with DC as well. You know, doing like Green Lantern comics, and he did a comic series called 2000 AD, which I'm not too familiar with, but he did stuff with Dark Horse Comics, and then of course doing stuff all the way. Pretty much was working all the way up until he passed away. So, but yeah, this movie was directed by Stephen Norrington. This was written by James Dale Robinson.
Fake name. Keep going.
Listen, when it comes to his works, it's mostly comic stuff. Like he actually has done a lot of comic work. Yeah.
Anything notable?
Like Batman stuff. Batman's Legend of the Dark Knight, Batman, Deadman, Death and Glory, Detective Comics. This is throughout the 90s, like Green Lantern Corps, Starman. So that's the thing is like, it's like, oh, it's a comic book movie. Let's get a comic book writer to write the script. And it's like, but the problem is he's a comic book writer, not a screenwriter, which is two different things. So I feel that's why a lot of things are kind of disjointed in this movie.
A little bit, yeah.
And to be honest, I feel like there was probably too many hands in the pot. So,
and I'm sure you had some studio hands in there too. Of like,
absolutely,
of course.
Yeah. So Sean Connery was actually a producer on this movie, which doesn't really, if you think about producers, doesn't mean much. It's just kind of a name. It's just like producer. Here you go. You want your name on there? They don't really do much.
He did get paid for this movie though.
Oh yeah,
he made $17 million for it.
It sounds like he was also co-director from what you're telling us.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, the thing is in the graphic novel, Quartermain, his character, is not the leader, is not like the main character.
Nope.
It's actually Mina Harker is like the leader of the group, and it kind of plays into like there's really not a main character. The whole group is kind of, together and has equal roles, where of course like Quartermain is he is the main guy in this movie.
I wonder if they pitched it at him and said, we Peter Wilson, we're gonna have her play Mina, and she's gonna be the leader of this group, and he's probably like, nah. I'm not even gonna try a Sean Connery, but he like, probably was like, no.
He's like, not a woman. No woman is going to lead me.
Yeah,
like, excuse me, Sean. It's the 2000s.
It doesn't fit my misogynistic character I have.
open
Oh,
hand.
clearly.
Like, no, Sean, we can't. Stop.
It's not the 50s anymore.
Yes, it's not
You
the
can't-
50s.
It's not okay. God, man.
Calm down.
It's okay. It was the 50s. Like, no.
Everybody
no.
just starts slapping everybody.
Sean,
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of that.
They just hit people with their dicks now.
To the moon now.
Yeah, so going through the cast, we have Sean Connery as Alan
I think you missed
Quartermain. No, I heard you.
I didn't.
Okay, good.
We have
He just doesn't want to acknowledge you.
Thank you.
we have Nasruddin Shah as Nemo, who is from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is the book. We have
Yes.
Peter Wilson as Dr. Mina Harker. She
Yeah.
was in Femme Fatale. Fuck, what the hell is the show called?
La Femme Nikita, right?
La Femme
Yeah.
Is that what it-
Nikita, yes. Which was remade, right? Into
Was it
another show that was
Vanishing
just called
Point?
Nikita.
She was in the
Yes,
Viggo
yes.
Mortensen Vanishing Point. She was the motorcycle girl. Nobody knows. Oh God, you guys kill me. So Vanishing Point. Okay, let's go back. Vanishing Point was a movie from the 70s, early 70s.
Like, let's
Big
be some-
car movie because the main vehicle's I think it's a 440 Challenger, 71 440 Challenger.
Okay.
Big movie like that. It's all druggy 70s and shit. But there's a scene in it where there's a girl butt ass naked driving a motorcycle. It's Motorcycle Girl. Well, they did a remake of it with Viggo Mortensen. I'm pretty sure she's not butt ass naked in this one, but Viggo Mortensen's a way better actor than the dude that was in the original one. And she's the motorcycle girl in that movie.
Oh, all right.
She
Yeah,
was also in Malibu Shark Attack.
Oh, thank God, Malibu.
she was in
Shark
Superman Returns as a character I don't remember.
Okay.
Oh,
Well, yeah,
Part of the
but her
characters,
character, of course, is the wife of Jonathan Harker, who is the guy who goes to work for Count Dracula. You find that out in this movie too.
Nina?
She was paid by, or it's Mina. I always thought it was Nina.
Mina.
No, Mina.
Mina.
It's Mina.
Well, yeah.
I read I read Dracula too.
Ah,
What was it? Winona Ryder, I think, played her in Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula. Correct? Am I wrong?
What one?
The Dracula
You
with,
might
Was it Gary Oldman?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah,
That's
she
the one with
played-
all everybody has sex. That's that one. Yeah.
Yes.
I just
We have Tony Curran
Tony
as
Collins.
Rodney Skinner, who is the only character who is not like the main character of one of these old stories, because the Invisible Man was the only story that wasn't in the public domain. So they actually could never call him the Invisible Man. He was just the man who could become invisible. And they couldn't use, I think the main character's last name is Griffin, so they couldn't use his character. So it's just like, yeah, he just stole the shit.
He stole it. Yeah.
Like, there you go. Cool.
Yeah.
Just
We
to get
couldn't
away
get the
from
rights,
that. Yeah.
but
we'll get away with it somehow.
He's a gentleman thief.
We have Stuart Townsend as Dorian Gray. The only movie I know him from other than this is, oh man, it was the last movie that had, is it Aaliyah? She's the one who died.
Queen of the
Damned.
The
Oh, yeah, Queen
Damned,
of the
yeah.
Damned.
The only
Lestat.
Yes, and the only thing I remember about that movie is just the awesome soundtrack it had.
Yeah.
It had the
Jonathan
awesome song
Davis.
from Korn, or yeah, from Jonathan Davis, and had the sick
Yeah.
version from Disturbed. I was like,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I remember about that movie. I was like, what's it about? Vampires. That's it. That's all I know.
Those are the only two movies I know he's ever done. I'm like, I feel like you're typecast, and then
Yeah.
you just kind of.
And he was married to Charlize Theron for a bit. That's kind of another thing that he was known for.
No.
Yeah. This has Shane West as Tom Sawyer, who I feel like this had to be an early role for him, because he was in A Walk to Remember, which I think was the year after this, which is the one with Mandy Moore. Oh no, that came out a year before this one. That's probably why I got the role in this movie.
Like we needed a good old American boy.
Yeah. He does a lot of
I knew
he's done a
I
lot
had,
of TV.
had seen him somewhere, and you saying that, I was like, oh yeah.
Hilarious. He was in the American remake of the Nikita show.
Dude, what?
Wow.
That's
Hold on.
hilarious.
There is another actor, because we get all these vampire synergies too, because this motherfucker was in Dracula 2000, and the dude who
Oh.
played the villain was in Van Helsing as Dracula.
Yes, that's
was.
where I
Oh,
recognized him
was.
from.
Dude, I
Holy
was like, what is
shit.
going on?
Oh man, you're right. And yeah, Dracula 2000 came out in 2000, of course. But yeah, he was Shane West was in Ocean's 11. He played himself I guess he was that well known. He played himself. A Walk to Remember in 2002. He did. Let's see. Let's go through here.
Oh my goodness.
What? No, and literally everything else is like I don't know. I don't know what it is.
He was there.
He was in Gotham for 4 episodes. He played Bane. Yes.
What?
Yes.
Bane before he had muscles?
Probably.
Yes, before he went to prison and got swole.
We have Jason Fleming as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. We just talked about him a couple episodes ago in Deep Rising.
Yes.
Yeah. But can we talk? I just want to talk about. We're going to talk about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde a lot because he shows up a lot in this movie. Can we just talk about why Hyde looks the way he does? Why? If
like a gorilla?
I don't like it. I don't like it. They tried to make him look like the Hulk, like in some way, like a deformed Hulk. And
well, during his fight, all I thought of was, oh, this is the original Hulk versus the Abomination fight.
Yes,
just with worse CGI.
Yes.
Oh, dude, holy.
But I just found it funny because I've read the original story. I've seen the original movies. Even the early ones. I think it was like the 20s or the 30s. Where like Jekyll and Hyde is just a kind of more aggressive looking Jekyll, where it's like he gets a little bit bigger, but he still just looks like a man, and all he's trying to do is go out there and just do some devious stuff. And this one, it's like he is literally has one. He's got one little arm and then one monstrous arm, and he just looks like a deformed gorilla. And I don't know if I care.
The red one. The red Hulk's worse because he just looks like a skinned gorilla with serious jack arm, dude. Like this one's like, bam,
and they told
hard.
They told the guy who plays him was like, you got to be crazy because that's the guy who's like running around like and I'm like, whoa, and then when he becomes the creature, he's doing the same thing. I'm like, oh,
there's no build up to this guy either. He just happens.
No, he just shows up and grabs the flask and just starts chugging it.
And I just like, not the whole thing.
He doesn't even drink. He's just like,
yeah.
This dude's horrible at keggers, man. Like you're supposed to drink it, like not get it all over your face.
Yeah, it's great. We have Richard Roxburgh as the Phantom, which I love how they spell it. It's Phantom. Oh. Yes. But he's supposed to be the Phantom from Phantom of the Opera.
What I want to know is why did he put the prosthetics on his face if he's going to wear a mask? Like that just seems like a lot of work.
Because he's the Phantom.
Extra steps.
It looks cool.
So there could be that big reveal when the mask gets knocked off, and he's
like, yes.
I agree.
It is me.
I had to Google this dude because I was like, this motherfucker was for sure in Lord of the Rings, but he wasn't. I just felt that he was.
We have Tom Goodman Hill as Sanderson Reed, who was the guy who he was the Phantom's like sidekick. Well, M's sidekick. The guy who like recruits Quartermain.
Oh yeah, he shows up.
Who you find out he becomes another person. Like he becomes the other Invisible Man later on in the movie. But you don't know that though. You literally have to look it up. Like it literally, I looked at the trivia for this on IMDb and it said that Sanderson Reed was the other Invisible Man. And I was like, oh, okay.
I could see it.
Yeah.
Those are the deleted scenes.
Well, you couldn't see it because he was the other Invisible Man.
Not that way.
Oh,
he's trying to protect his.
Well, I wonder if it would have been better because you see how you see him at the beginning of the movie if he had like a fucking bowler on. It's just a bowler and a knife floating around. Yeah. That would have made more sense because that's all his character wore in the beginning of the movie.
That is true. We have Terry O'Neill as Ishmael, who is the first mate of Captain Nemo. I found it hilarious. I don't know, call me Ishmael. I'm like, ha! You said the words. And Max Ryan as Dante, Phantom's second in command. Is that the guy who becomes the Jekyll or the
red guy?
Okay,
red guy.
Yes. Because I'm like, you're useless until then.
Yeah. So this movie was released July 11th, 2003, and then not until October 17th, 2003 in the UK. It was an hour and 50 minutes, and it had a budget of $78 million and made $179.3 million at the box office. But it made an extra $48.6 million with DVD sales and rental sales, which is that's a pretty good chunk of money. This movie definitely made out.
Early 2000s, it wasn't a terrible thing,
but I feel like when you talk about this movie, people just expect it to be, it just did really shitty at the box office, or like, it just didn't make any money. It's like, no, it actually made a pretty good chunk of money for its budget. But it was all the behind the scenes stuff was the reason that this movie,
because they had a sequel. They had a sequel ready to go, and
you can still type it into, if you type this movie into Google, the second most searched thing is League of Extraordinary Gentlemen 2.
There needs to be a second one.
Dude, listen, I already
Sean
figured
Connery's
it out.
dead. For real.
No.
He's for real dead. But you could get, you just say the character's dead. I mean, the character technically died at the end of this movie.
He was with two T's.
He says in the middle of the movie, Africa won't let him die.
That's true. Well, we did get that really sick teaser.
Long scene on that grave.
I mean,
I was waiting for a hand to pop up.
Yes.
As a zombie. I
want an alternate cut where during that scene where all that's happening and stuff, it just needs to play Africa by Toto. But
is that out at this time?
Right.
It won't make it happen. But no,
I'm sure it was.
We're gonna talk. I'm not supposed to say it now because I'll forget by the time we get to the end. I wanted a sequel to where Alan Quartermain's the villain, because he gets resurrected by the witch doctor and he's just an evil corpse person.
I feel like they've made movies made movies like that.
They probably
like the hero gets resurrected after death and he becomes the evil one. It's like,
but I need him because he's a good shot. Like, ooh.
And it
that doesn't make sense.
But he could be zombie.
It's Tom Sawyer versus zombie Quartermain with the.
Yeah, see that's the thing, because he gets brought back, but his soul's departed. He's a husk.
But he still can.
They got to put a soul in him. It's just not his soul, so he's a villain. So it's just his skin somebody else is wearing. You know what I'm saying?
But it still has his brain's still there. It could be zombie Deadshot. Was there a zombie Deadshot?
Well, we can make it happen.
Probably.
I mean, that's him right there.
Well, see, everybody talks this dude up, be like,
into zombies at some point.
I want to point this out.
Yes, there was Marvel Zombies.
I want to point this out. Everybody talks this motherfucker up about being a great shot. He talked about having multiple lovers. Doesn't have his own kid. Not that good of a shot. I'm going to say it right now.
He does have a good... He does have...
No, that was his son-in-law. He says it in the movie. Yeah, that's my son-in-law.
Yeah, but...
Not that good of a shot.
But he technically did have a kid because the son-in-law would mean it would be married to his daughter.
No, you're missing the point.
It could. He had two wives.
You're missing the point.
No, he had two wives. It could be a stepson.
2 wives and multiple lovers.
Multiple lovers. That's what he says. Yeah.
But
all right.
I'll let you go.
Just carry on. Let's just carry on.
Are we ready to go through the plot?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's do this thing. So
I want to talk about some other movies.
I won't let you all night.
I love the opening where it shows the 20th Century Fox. Of course, I had to wear my So Wizard podcast shirt because their logo is literally just the 20th Century Fox. I was like, perfect time to wear this shirt. And it doesn't exist anymore.
No, we started this movie. It was about 11 o'clock. We had made biscuits. And I went to fix my biscuit, and I missed the whole opening, which I love the opening. I was like, damn it, could you not pause it?
I'm sorry. I was like, you get some pause the movie, like, okay, I'll get it.
But it's a cool opening because it shows the logo, and then it like morphs as the logo is like part of a building in London. Really, really cool looking. And then, of course, it gives you like a whole breakdown of it's 1899. Times are changing. You know, you're going from weapons that are single shots and just kind of, you know, the old school way of things, and now things are becoming more advanced and the world is changing and it's scary.
The world's changing.
Yeah. For some reason, I thought this opening had Jekyll and Hyde, or it had the Hyde roof thing in the beginning. Nope, that happens later. It's because the thing is the you see the policeman going down the street and then stuff is crumbling from above them. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, oh, is this when Hyde is running across the rooftop? No. But why is stuff falling from the top there? I'm so confused because the tank just comes out of a wall. You're like, oh, okay. I just love it though, because the tank comes in. Of course, the guy's like, stop. And then I don't understand. I understand.
He just stood there.
Trying to stop it. Yeah, you're just standing there. Get out of the way. You're clearly not stopping. The guy gets run over. But I love it where the other guys are just trying to hit it with the billy clubs.
Yeah. What the fuck are they gonna do? Listen, I don't know. Listen, I love firearms and shit like that, but like they probably just had Webleys. Like, what the fuck are they gonna do? And secondly, more importantly,
they didn't know. They've never seen this before.
I know this is a fictitious reality, but if I remember correctly, and commenters correct me if I'm wrong, in World War I, it was the British that actually were the first to implement tanks.
Yeah, but this is 1899, so this is like this is
I know.
They wouldn't have half the things that you see in this movie.
Well, I know about that. Like,
but they wouldn't know. They've never seen a tank before, so here they are trying to, take it out with what they have.
Let's just hit it.
Which
I like
is
when
not
it stops.
working.
When it stops and then the side opens, there are people inside. I'm like, who do you think was in there?
Robots.
Yeah.
They found aliens at this time and they didn't tell us.
But so the tank crashes into like a bank. I'm guessing it's a bank because they open up this vault.
Well, that's when they go in Bank of London.
Oh, I'm clearly I was writing a note there. That's why I need to watch movies more than once.
No, you're good. That's fine.
But yeah, it crashes into the bank. It opens this vault. Yeah, this is where we get the moment. There's people. No shit, dude. Like, of course, there's people in there. They open up the vault, and of course, it's the Germans. But
of course, it's the Germans.
Of course. No offense to all of our German listeners. But in these movies, when it takes place a long time ago,
there's another scene that happens. And it's like, what the hell are you doing?
And we want to make note, this is not the Nazis. These are just Germans.
Yeah, the Germans.
Yep.
Well, it's actually really people, like, they're not even really German.
No, they're just followers of the Phantom.
Yes.
But you don't get to see him. You just kind of see from like the neck down. And of course, it focuses a lot on his cane because he's got like the skeleton top on the cane there. But he goes inside, and this is where there's like plans and stuff for like weapons, like blueprints and all that.
It's for Venice. It's like some of the buildings in Venice. There's like blueprints,
and all that. So this is when we then go to like a facility that they're building like Zeppelins and everything, and the Phantom just blows it up with a rocket launcher and just walks away like the cool guy.
Yes, I felt like it was cool guys don't look at explosions. I
didn't know if it was a rocket launcher or if he was trying to shoot a hook because they show it.
Yeah, it's unraveling
from his like.
I didn't understand
and then it blows up.
Like, it's like, wait, what?
Okay.
There's a lot of different ways.
It's got a fuse or something?
There's a lot of different ways you could have gone about this. Like, you didn't have to do the rocket launcher thing. It would have ignited fairly easily.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dramatic effect.
But I love how they show him walking away all cool as everything's crashing and blowing up behind him. Like, this guy's so cool.
He laughs in the face of danger.
Mm-hmm.
He is not Darkwing Duck.
So yeah, this is pretty much it. Of course, it shows like headlines in the newspaper, pretty much like, "Oh, war is about to begin."
Mm-hmm. This is very much the beginning, especially had me thinking of like The Shadow or old pulp movies like The Phantom or things like that, where it was like war.
The Phantom.
Germans to Britain blames Germany. Germans say it's not us, and then it gets like Britain. Britain attack, or people think Britain attacks German. German says nay or nine.
No, it's 9.
9.
So
a little early for that.
Yeah. So this is when we are in Africa, and a man is going to. He's trying to find a man named Quatermain, and he states that he works for the Queen and he needs his help. And of course, he meets a guy who he thinks is Quatermain because he pretty much introduced. He's like, "Oh yeah, that's me." But then you find out his name is Nigel, and he's just kind of there so that the real Quatermain doesn't have to deal with just kind of random people asking about him.
He has to get the paparazzi off of him.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
But they're like, "We need you, Quatermain." And he's like, "Nah, I'm good." He's like, "But don't you love your country?" He's like, "Not really." See, he just doesn't care. And I don't even remember what the guy says to like get him motivated to do. Oh no, shit just starts happening. People just show up to the building, start shooting at him.
And
they kill Nigel. They kill Nigel.
Yeah. He's like, wrong quartermaster.
Yeah.
Or Quatermain. like
okay. The bartender like gives him his rifle so he can like.
Yes. Yeah. You see that the guys that come in to shoot him have like armor on, and I just love it with the guys. I can't remember exactly what he says, but he's just like, oh my God, they have like next level equipment. He's like, it's just body armor.
Yeah, it's like they're just plated.
They're
vulnerable or bulletproof or something.
Yeah.
From the future.
Yeah.
Future men.
But then they start shooting their automatic weapons, and he's like, oh, automatic weapons. Why does it have to be automatic weapons?
Yeah, this is definitely way before that was very commonplace. At least not something a person carried around as a personal weapon.
You could tell that. You could also tell they're new because like one guy's shooting it, and then it must like jam on him because he's like beating the shit out of it. But he gets his trusty old gun named Matilda and just starts beating the shit out of everyone in this room.
All I can think of is it's called the Winchester.
He gets that last guy from hundreds of yards away.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
After he puts his glasses on.
Yep.
Yes.
Shoots him from like 900 yards or something like that. And but then the building blows up, and I'm like, no, not the bartender. He was cool too. He's probably dead.
It looked like a nice place.
They probably got out. I want to believe that they all got out.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody in town's running toward them, so they live in my brain.
I love the kill though with the last guy in the building before he does shoot the guy who runs away, where he kills him with the rhino horn that's on the wall.
Oh yeah, just with the table or whatever, just pushes him through it.
Yeah. It's great.
That was great.
I love watching Sean Connery's stuntman do all of this because there's no way Sean Connery did any of this.
Oh, and you can tell that it's a stuntman too.
It's so good. He's doing flips and shit. I'm like, come on, man. This man's 70 years old at the time. Like, what?
I'm too old for the sure you are.
They're wearing wigs.
That's why he retired. He was sore from all those stunts he did.
Yeah.
He was trying to be Tom Cruise.
Yep.
He's like, I just need a
Not
vacation.
everybody's born to fall out of a plane. Sorry.
Yes.
But the guy that he shoots, he doesn't kill him because he has questions for him. But the guy chews on a cyanide pill. Yeah.
They always have the pill.
They always have the pill. I just always think of Captain America, the first Avenger, where he like pops the tooth. It's like a
That's
tooth.
what I was waiting for.
I was like, Hail Hydra.
It's just very dramatic because he like pop and you can hear the pop and you're like, Hail Hydra.
Pop rocks.
Do you realize? I don't know what this gun he's using is, right? That Quartermain's main weapon.
That's a long ass gun.
It is definitely used for hunting big game, massive caliber.
Well, he's
like, do you imagine? Like, I know he shoots this dude not to kill him, and it probably wouldn't have killed him right away necessarily, but the amount of trauma that would go through his body just hitting him in the shoulder, I guarantee it would have went straight through and just detonated his shoulder.
His arm is just like a wet noodle.
Yeah.
Just,
I don't think he would have been able to move his arm.
No,
that's a shit ton of energy.
But you would have
from that
seen
cartridge.
it through his jacket that he was wearing.
Yeah.
There'd been a big explosion on the backside.
That would have been awesome if they would have made it that kind of movie.
Right.
Absolutely.
Just like, we're going to go hard R and we're going to blow the guy's arm off.
Listen,
we would love that.
I watch a lot of gun tubers, right? And this is I just got to make this comment because I love this. I was watching a video where they shoot ballistic dummies simulate human bodies. And I watched this dude just at fairly close range use a 500 Magnum handgun and shoot a head, and the head literally gets shot, opens up, and then collapses in on itself. So you could that's way less. Like the 500 Magnum's got a lot of energy, but that cartridge would probably be very similar, being as old as it is, because it would have been black powder. But it would have been a black powder cartridge at that time.
It had to have been. But after effects, you don't see much from the front. Like seeing the slow motion, you see it, but it's the back end that's like there's nothing left.
Yeah, because smokeless powder didn't come out till 1907. The French had it first. So yes, it's 1899. So no, he wouldn't have had that. Would have been a black powder weapon.
There would have been a lot of damage.
Oh, scary. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so the building blows up, and then we get like a hard focus on a gravestone that just says Quartermain. I'm like, is this his wife? Is this the kid? Like, you don't know who it is. It just focuses really hard on it.
Did he fake his own death and people were just trying to find him?
Yeah,
I assumed it was a wife at the beginning.
That's what I thought. I put wife? Question mark?
His facial expression from it.
Yeah. So Quartermain goes to London. It is raining because of course it is. It's London. It is July 1899, and this is when we get some great shots of like you get the matte painting backgrounds, but you have like a stage work in the front. I love that. I feel like it's not done enough anymore.
This had the very old movie feel. Like
Yes.
Norrington tried to make it feel like an old timey adventure comic.
Yeah, and you could also tell by how lines were delivered as well, because like you could always tell. You watch a movie from the 40s, 50s, 60s, and just the way that lines are delivered compared to like how actors deliver lines now. It's not. I wouldn't say stiff. Back then, it wasn't like stiff, but they just kind of enunciated things more.
Yeah.
And kind of they exaggerated accents so hard in those old movies.
Or just didn't talk at all.
Yeah. So Quartermain, he meets a man named M. That's all you get from him. And you meet Captain Nemo, and he looks cool, man. This man is
I like
cool.
Captain Nemo.
Quartermain with the James Bond meets another M, basically.
Yep.
That's the first thing I thought was like,
yes, because I love M from James Bond movies. She was
So they are told about the scarred man named the Phantom. And this is when he's going around, he's, doing some nefarious things, and they need to get this group together called the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. It's been a group that has been around for a while, but this is going to be the new group. And so we meet more members. We meet Rodney Skinner, who is the man who stole the formula to become invisible from the original creator. And of course, they never say his name, the original creator.
The Invisible Man.
Yeah, it's the man who becomes invisible. But the effects are awesome. I watch a YouTube channel called the Corridor Crew. It's a visual effects studio out in LA, and they do a show called Visual Artist Reacts, which they go through movie scenes that use CGI, and they kind of talk about the process of how it was done. And the way that they did the whole scene where Skinner puts on the white makeup, they actually filmed it kind of like in reverse, where he already had the white on, but he had something else over it, and he would wipe that off to get the white on his face. So the white paint was already on his face, and then there was something else over it, and then he was wiping off the first layer to get the white underneath.
It's so good, dude. That shot's so good.
To be honest, it's crazy how good everything that when you see the Invisible Man in every shot of this movie, it looks so good.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
It looks great.
Oh yeah.
And there are some shots.
The difference. I like the difference between this scene and the scene where he's just full already.
Yes, where it's just him painted white. The actor, there's no effects at all. It's a good blend.
You can tell when he first does it that it's CG. You can tell it's not him already painted. Like he had to have had a green suit on or whatever at the time.
I'm trying to think. Did Hollow Man come out? I think Hollow Man came out before this, and
yes,
they're invisible.
That's exactly
like
that's exactly what I was thinking of. The first time I had seen it, because I know I saw Hollow Man before this.
Yeah, the effects in that movie are spectacular for the time. Like amazing. Oh, yeah. Like there are some movies now that can't even get to that level, and they have insane budgets compared to what Hollow Man had in 1998 or 1999, whatever year it came out.
Nowadays, they're trying to crank out too much stuff that they can't.
Yep.
They can't spend their time on those effects anymore.
The bar of acceptability is lower, like you said, just to get more stuff churned out.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people don't like this movie for some of the CG work, but
it's mainly the cock ripper later in the movie. That's his name now in my mind. He's just a cock ripper.
I mean, I enjoy. I go into a lot of these movies that we watch that I know I've watched before. Like, yeah, I remember when I first watched them versus, this is 20 years later. Mm-hmm. They're not going to be good, but I still enjoy the effects.
Well, for the time, they were good. I mean, this came out after Star Wars, after Lord of the Rings. So, I mean, it's...
Yeah.
And they had a lot bigger budget than this.
Oh, yeah.
So here I am. I'm like putting myself back in high school seeing this for the first time. Like, it's.
I mean, yeah, this movie came out when I was like
It's so
11
good.
or 12, and
Oh,
I didn't give a shit about. I didn't give a shit about CGI and how bad it looked. Like, it was fucking cool. Like, this was just.
I
was
graduated
great.
high school in 04.
Yeah, it was a different, like you said, it
We've
was a
talked
different
about
time.
this, Angela. I'm
Listen.
sorry that your parents had sex and conceived you before my parents did for me. Okay, I'm
I'm still
sorry.
gonna
I
bring it
can't
up.
help that.
I was in the working world when I saw this movie.
I could have been in the working. Actually, I did start working a year later.
Yeah. Slow clap.
I'm sorry. We also
My parents didn't want me to start working until I was out of high school, so I was lucky there.
we also meet Mina Harker, who we don't really get much information about her because we just meet her. I mean, we know who she is based on the story the book that she's from, but the movie doesn't tell you.
doesn't like that there's a woman there.
No, women.
This movie would be so much better.
Put the hand away, Sean.
But I
One star
still get,
review.
well, I still get what the timing is. I still
of
watch a
course.
lot of. I watch Bridgerton, so like that's.
I mean,
Still
it's 1899.
Yeah.
It's
different.
still the era where people don't like women.
This is the suffragettes. That was still going on. Like they had women didn't have right to vote in the United States
So like
at that point.
25 or more years later.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so to see her play a pivotal role,
She's badass. She
is.
So this is when we get to see Nemo's awesome car. And I just like, what is this?
Yeah.
Oh, this is what I call an automobile.
An automobile.
Yes.
yeah,
and this is-
everybody else is like, what?
we meet his driver Ishmael, and he's like, "Call me Ishmael." Hey,
He's wearing a little beanie. I'm like,
I wish they
probably
gave him a
shouldn't be
peg
wearing
leg,
that
though.
at that time.
they give him a peg leg. Ishmael had a peg
Yeah.
leg in Moby Dick.
He couldn't drive the
Come
car
on.
with the fucking peg leg.
Oh, put it on his left leg.
Hey.
He'll be able to drive it.
As long as it's as long as it's on his left leg, he's good.
Keep in mind though, to be that guy, early automobiles, not counting this fucking future Cadillac, Merc, fucking
Listen, he
Bentley,
didn't
whatever.
have to.
They did not have a
Batmobile.
standardized. They did not have the standardized driving system that we have now. Even very early automobiles did not have that.
I don't think they had a brake pedal.
So
It wasn't the same.
So
From the driving later on, I don't think they had a brake pedal.
no,
Had a little
this
socket
is
for his
this is
peg
no
leg to go
joke. This is
into.
no joke. The same model as the Batmobile. Like it just looks the same
Oh,
as the
yeah.
original like Burton Batmobile.
Oh, it's great.
The fun fact though is that they were supposed to add a character that was supposed to be James Bond's grandfather,
Yes.
and it got scratched because they just thought it was going to be too much.
Okay.
Which would have been funny since Sean Connery played James Bond.
Really. But
Yeah, this is when you get the conversation with Quartermain about how women are distractions and blah blah blah, and she's just like, "I'm not your typical woman," and he's like, "Okay," just kind of blows her off. Yeah,
she's not wrong.
no, she's not.
No.
So they drive to a kind of a sketchy part of town, and they meet Dorian Gray. What do you put in your
Townsend?
What do you? Put
It's not
in
you.
your-
It's not you.
Oh.
It's I gotta scroll this. He just looks like he's taking a mean shit. I mean, it's don't look the dude up who plays the cock ripper. There's a shot of him right before his transformation
Yes.
where he's all like, "Ugh," and his face is all red, and it's still on that. And I
Oh,
can't
sorry.
tell if he's taking a shit or doing something else, and it's fucking distracting.
Oh man.
But yes,
We have
carry on
IMDb
about
pulled
Dorian
up.
Gray.
Yeah,
and
so-
it's like vomiting charisma onto the stage.
Oh yes, it's his defense. He just like he has one fucking mood
Oh,
and
this
one tone throughout this entire movie. No joke. Like to be honest, he is probably the
He's
most
all like-
boring character in this movie. No, joke. Like Dorian Gray.
Oh, yeah.
It's just
No.
like I'm just like, oh shit, is he still talking?
He played Lestat almost the same way.
Probably why Stuart Townsend doesn't do a lot anymore in Hollywood. Whoa.
Get him the fuck out of here.
From
Yeah.
reading the book, I'm like, dude, what did you do?
I've never read
didn't.
Portrait of Dorian Gray or whatever it's called.
So he has been in stuff. He was,
Allegedly.
he was in the 2005 Aeon Flux live action movie with his now ex-wife Charlize Theron.
That's what we were looking up, and we're like, what?
Yeah, and I think he did some. It looks like some Hallmark movies. We have Christmas at Castle Heart and Grace and Grit. That sounds 100%.
Listen, Hallmark movies are where your career goes to die.
I seriously misheard everything he said, and I thought he said Christmas at Castle Grayskull, and I was like, He-Man Christmas special on Hallmark. I was like,
Somebody might have, but that's where that's literally where your career goes to die.
oh.
But yeah, we're gonna find out what Dorian Gray's all about. I mean, if you've ever read the story of I think it's called The Portrait, or is it The Portrait of Dorian Gray? Yeah,
The Picture of Dorian Gray.
Yeah, we'll explain exactly what he's all about in a little bit. So
he knows what he's doing.
He's missing a picture. You know, like how you walk up and say, "Oh, looks like you're missing something." He's like, "I know," and then he just keeps walking. So Quartermain tells the groups of his rumored immortality because that's mentioned. He's like, "Oh, I've heard you can't die," and he's like, "Well, they tell me that I can. Was it Africa won't let me die?" And they're like, "Well, you're not in Africa," and he's like, "You're not wrong."
Exactly.
It's almost like he knows this.
So this is, you get the whole thing where Quartermain actually says that he met Dorian Gray once before at a college, and they're like, they think it's Quartermain is the one who was giving a lecture at the college, but it's like, no, it was Dorian Gray. He looks exactly the same, and I was a little boy, and they're like,
like what?
Something about the teacher and the student, but he's like, no, I was the student, and he was the teacher.
Yep. So the Phantom shows up, and all of his goons with their automatic weapons, and you also get this just random, you think is a goon, but you find out it's the guy from earlier before where he was walking along the car when they drove away. You're like, who's that guy? But the Phantom,
he's the only one with an clearly out of place outfit and weapon. Like,
yes, he's wearing it. He's wearing it kind of because the other guys have it like cloaks, like an actual coat, and he's just wearing it kind of like off the shoulders. He's like, I'm not suspicious at all.
Somewhat obscuring his face.
Yeah, and he's also
like, I need a bib.
He also has his gun, not the automatic weapon that everyone else has. They're like, that doesn't look regulation.
It's like a Winchester 1895 lever. It's fucking beautiful,
it's called
dude.
The Winchester.
Did you grow up with a lack of parental supervision? Do you know all the lyrics to The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? Remember Mayor McCheese and the Fry Guys? Have an inexplicable love for the California Raisins? Can you remember Madonna's original face?
Then you might be a part of the Doom generation.
Laugh until you cry with us each week as we stumble blindly through the memories of the movies
and other random things
that doomed us to be the salty, sarcastic, sardonic ladies you want to hang with.
You know us, you love us, you can't fucking live without us.
Doom Generation, available everywhere you find podcasts.
But
yeah, exactly.
So the Phantom talks about his plans and all that stuff, and of course, just doing his villain monologue, and
as villains do.
Yep. And the guy, the out of place guy, just starts shooting everybody else, and then it just becomes this big brawl. Dorian, of course, he's like a proper man with his Thor, just. And Nemo also doesn't fight with guns. He uses his cool sword, but his fighting technique is cooler because he can do flips and shit and kick the shit out of everybody. And I was like, Nemo's awesome. I
could watch him fight a lot.
Well, Dorian's got to stick so far up his own ass. He can live forever anyway.
He's like, which you don't find out about. Like, that he hasn't aged in a while, but then he gets shot up by a guy, and the guy of course, he's falling and rips off Dorian's shirt, and you just see how the bullets kind of absorb into him, or they fall. And who are you?
Like the powder, it's almost like dust falls out of him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I wonder at what point, because Mina's she's got the sloppy clam for this guy, right? And she really does. And I'm like, dude, if this dude is that way, with his blood, he's got to be shooting baby powder.
Oh,
there's no fucking way.
No way he's having children. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what happens later.
I know, but that's just what I thought of. I was like, there's no fucking way she doesn't think that.
He's like, here it comes. It's just air. Just a cloud of dust.
You're gonna need to hose that out.
Oh my goodness! Did I get any in my mouth? Oh my god! Sorry.
There's a scene later that you see that, and it's like, oh, okay.
Oh.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
that was his O face. Like,
Oh face. But can I state something? The action scene here is really good.
No, it's really cool.
It's very fun. It's really well choreographed. It's fun.
Yes.
that is one thing they get so good is all of the fighting.
It's really good.
Every single scene
You know,
with fighting
it blows
is
my
good,
mind.
except for one.
It blows my mind that a movie from 2003 can have really good cinematography when it comes to a fight scene. But Paul W.S. Anderson goes, you know what I want to do in my Resident Evil movies? I'm going to cut 7,000 times in between a fight scene so you have no idea what's happening. And it's going to get to the point where you're going to be so nauseous that you're just going to want to jump out a high window. Oh, sorry. That was just me. Okay.
We're not going to talk about that.
No,
You know my feelings on these films.
there was,
There
a couple of cuts in this where I was like, wait a minute, we were just over here. Why aren't we over here now? And I was like, okay, hang on just a second.
All you got to do with this kind of movie, like we talked about, it's an action movie. At least make the action fun. That's it.
Yeah.
Like,
and I thought this was good. This was a good.
It
time.
was.
It goes between every character very smoothly. It doesn't like jump around and make it so you're kind of confused. Like what the fuck is going on? You know who's fighting who. Of course, you got Quartermain who's like chasing after. Or no, I think this was the one when Sawyer goes after the Phantom because the Phantom just books it out of there. He's like, I'm out.
Quartermain but Quartermain got intercepted by the other dude, and then that's when Sawyer takes over.
Yeah, there's still comic book cuts.
Yes. Yeah.
I like
so
how
you still see it, but it's not so bad.
the only one you don't actually see fight here is Mina. And then everyone's like, it's a woman. She can't
she
do
doesn't
nothing.
show. She's just gone. She's just not in the scene until the end. She just shows back up.
But then, like, Skinner is like, he's just bludgeoning a guy with a book. Like, he's like the
Yeah.
least apt fighter out of
He's like,
everybody. He's just like,
"My name-"
Yeah, he's a thief. He's not a fighter.
yeah, exactly.
I'm like,
It's
that
great.
must have been a hefty book to knock dude out.
Of course, Mina just comes out of nowhere at the end of the fight, and of course, there's one more guy, and she jumps him, and then you find out she's a vampire.
Because he says something along. Is it this where he says something along the lines where she's hip deep in?
Yeah, she's hip deep in somebody's trouble and somebody's trouble or
and
something.
she's like, "You leave my hips out of this."
My hips are none of your business.
Yeah, my hips are none of your business, and I'm like, nah.
Got the one-line. A lot of one-liners in this movie too. A lot of them.
Yeah, and then you meet the unknown guy who saves them. Sort of is Agent Sawyer. Tom Sawyer. Supposedly there was supposed to be there was a deleted scene, but I don't think it was actually even filmed, where they were going to have Huck Finn and Tom Sawyer being agents together, and then I guess Huck Finn gets killed by the Phantom, and that's why Tom Sawyer is going after the Phantom.
Good.
It makes sense. I think it would be cool. Yeah,
it would have been cool because they were always together.
Was it Huck Finn was played by Jonathan Taylor Thomas, right? In The Adventures of Huck Finn. So yeah, just bring Jonathan Taylor Thomas in. He was probably old enough to. He was probably roughly around the same age as Shane West.
Tool time.
I just don't know why they name a character.
Don't make fun of Home Improvement. It's a great show.
I love Home Improvement.
I just don't know why they name a character after that shitty Rush song.
It's one of the greatest Rush songs ever made. You shut your fucking mouth.
I just want to get that in there.
So yeah,
I don't know if you like them, but hopefully somebody in the comments is like, "Fuck you, dude! It's great.
Tom Sawyer's fucking awesome." So yeah, he works for the Secret Service. But as Brad said earlier, this character was literally just added because Americans were going to be like, "There's not enough Americans in this movie. We need Americans," and it's just like, shut the fuck up.
I mean, no, you don't.
The studio was like, I don't know. People aren't going to go see it if there's no Americans in this movie.
Yeah,
I would have.
Serious?
Yeah.
You know who that?
Because I am not uncultured swine.
You know who they should have put in this movie instead of Sawyer? I know it would have correlated as much with Quartermain because they're both, gun wielders. Fucking put John Henry.
Oh, I'm thinking
John Henry's an American folk character.
I'm thinking Davy Crockett.
Yeah, you could have done him. He would have just had like a bear as an ally, or just turned into a bear for some reason.
Have Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah, a great piece of American fiction right there, Teddy Roosevelt.
I would have almost said Billy the Kid, but that's what they made Tom Sawyer be. It's basically Billy the Kid.
Literally.
Yeah.
So many options. So many options. So yeah, this is when Mina tells her story about how she became who she is. You know, her husband worked for Dracula and Dracula bit her, and here she is. Then we get to see the coolest fucking submarine ever, the Nautilus. This thing is awesome. But also the fact is we see this thing go through Venice later, and you're like, how? How did this thing fit?
That's what we said when you first showed up. I'm like, pretty sure it wouldn't
I could
fit
just
there.
imagine the guy who's got to drive it later, who's got to back out of there. He's just Austin Powers trying to back that cart out of that hallway.
Hey, they probably have backup cameras. He's
Oh
just like,
god, it's great, but it's awesome. This thing is sick.
it is.
It's the sword of the ocean, the Nautilus.
I mean, it looked like a sword too.
It did.
That's what I loved about it.
Aesthetically,
Yes.
it was neat.
It was
Very unique.
So Quartermain, we then see a side mission where Quartermain and Sawyer are going after Mr. Hyde. And this is when you see Mr. Hyde kind of jumping through the rooftops of Paris. And this is when I don't know if Norrington told Shane West to just say the most obvious things while he was running. Like he's just saying things to Quartermain that just don't need to be said. Like, I'm going to follow you wherever you go. I'm right behind you. I'm just like, why are these? This is so stupid. Like, it's just,
Was it Norrington that said it, or was it Sean Connery being like, why don't you say this so people kind of know?
It could,
Or
hey,
so I know.
Hey, it could have been.
Oh,
But every time I heard, I was like, God, shut up, man. We know you're there.
literally.
And it's not even a couple times. It's like 4 or 5 times between like per scene that he's with him.
The whole conversation between both of those could have been cut, and I'd been fine.
Absolutely.
It would have been perfect. Yeah.
Do you feel like there's another thing? Maybe it was just when I watched it. Or we watched it on Amazon. That's where we ended up watching this. Is there was some weird ADR moments in this movie? I noticed a lot more.
Yeah.
Yes.
What about? Did you as well, Brad?
I didn't know. I watched it on Prime too, but I was also watching it early in the morning when everyone was asleep, so I kind of had it down with subtitles on. So maybe I didn't hear
makes
as
sense.
much.
In his blanket, like,
I had to read my movie today.
Yeah, no. But there's just a few scenes that, like, I was like, that's obviously ADR. It's not, it doesn't ruin the movie for him. Like ADR, you could tell the audio is just like in the scene is just different.
I grew up watching a lot of
there were a couple that
Chinese
seemed like it was
movies.
dubbed over for sure. Yeah, like
that, because we always got to be PC now. There was a lot of Chinese movies that we watched, and we're like, because when you're 6 and 7, growing up in the age that I grew up in, you didn't know that they were speaking a different language, and I'm like, why is their mouth moving at a different time? But I noticed that a lot more with certain movies, and I'm like,
Oh yeah, I mean, when you're a kid,
Oh, my kid asked me that just last week. They're like, I don't like that movie because their mouths don't go with the words. And I'm like, it's a dubbed over movie.
They're not speaking.
See, we learn that as we get older. Like, I didn't know about that when I was that age. So here I am looking at this. Like,
I don't watch dubbed movies anyways. I always watch subs because I swear to God, it's just dubbed movies just infuriate me with how the voices are so out of place for what the hell is happening in the movie.
there was a certain time in your life where you didn't have that option.
Oh, I know. I've seen plenty of. I remember seeing the original Godzilla, the 1954 Godzilla, as a kid, dubbed.
Yeah, 56.
And of course, or 56. Sorry, and that's when, of course, when you're a kid, you're always making fun of, like, that was always a joke you would do. Like, you'd always be
Bruce
like
Lee movies,
moving your mouth, and then you would say words afterwards because that's how it was.
Yeah.
And we didn't know that was a bad thing until you get older and you're like, oh, okay.
Well, see, now I make an exception for a few movies. There are movies I actually prefer to watch dubbed, even though I know the subtitle version is better because it's just how I grew up.
What did we just watched the other day? Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla.
Yeah, I watched Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla in theaters because our theater was closing down, and I'm affiliated with that company. So I was like, I want to watch this because I'm never going to get a chance to see it in theaters ever again.
Wait, your theater's closing down?
Yeah, the end of this
actually tomorrow.
Well, tomorrow, yeah, tomorrow's
That
the last
sucks.
Yeah.
It's everything everybody knows about movie theaters. That's why they're going downhill. Streaming services and COVID and low attendances, blah 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 blah.
Yep, their customer base has been cut a lot.
But like we were like watching it, and like the Japanese version started playing when I started it. I was like, "Fuck this!" Like, go back, play the dub.
He was already sitting down beside me. He's like, "Fuck this."
I was like, it's a dub. I was like, nope, it's the sub version. I'll be right back. So I had to run upstairs to the projection booth, flip everything over. I love that. It's my favorite movie of all time, and I watch it dubbed because I love it. It's nostalgia. Anyway,
and I get it. We've watched it both ways.
Oh yeah.
So they catch Jekyll, or sorry, they catch Hyde. I
Mr.
love that.
Hyde.
I love when you first see him. He has his cane and his top hat when he's running across the rooftops.
Well, and his top hat is like 20 sizes too big because they like pick it up.
It is
like,
glued to his head.
I'm like,
Like,
does
it is
his
not
hat grew? when he
Yes,
changed?
exactly. Yes.
Well, it's always
He
that,
sprinkled a little on his head before he drank it.
well, it's always that thing where you're confused because every time you see Mr. Hyde, his clothes are ripped. I'm like, what if he knows he's going to transform? Why does he just get into
Change
pants? You know, get those stretchy pants.
What did you think of the transformation?
Oh, it was
I mean,
awesome.
he doesn't have leggings.
Speaking of quick cuts,
It was awesome. I
I'm
love
not-
the cuts between because it's all practical.
yeah.
Which that's why I loved it so much. If it was like a weird CG morph, I think it would have looked terrible. But we get that later with the abomination eyed creature.
I like the transitional prosthetics.
Yeah.
I
his
like
face and shit
the.
changing.
Oh, there was the one face where
Flash.
his fucking mouth is like all the way to like his ear at one
Yeah.
point. Yeah, it was really cool.
I actually like the fact that it's practical. I really like the whole suit and everything. Like I think it's because it's obviously at that time. I'm surprised they even did that and just didn't CG the whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
But the flash in between
The cuts, yeah.
the cuts and the speed up and slow down, all between it, it was great.
Yeah, I like that. That was good. It just makes you were talking about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde movies. I'm just thinking of Dr. Jekyll and Mrs. Hyde, which I think was a Hammer movie. And I was like, it's different. But anyway, yeah. And I also like that. Like, there's the scene when I know we're gonna get to this, but it's when he's in the freezer when he transforms. That's the first time you really see it, where he de-transforms.
Where he's going back. It's when he gets
Dr.
caught.
Jekyll.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like he's steaming.
Yes.
Because I know it's cold in there, but like he's supposed to be so hot from it. And I just think that's just a nice little touch. It didn't need to add, but it was just cool.
Well,
My first experience with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde was from the 50s,
40s or 50s.
40s or 50s,
probably, yeah.
but it was a cut between.
It was like a weird morph.
It was
where
like
it
a,
shows the actor's face and it kind of like looks like a mask is being put on him.
but it was a cut between scenes.
Totally transformed.
Back and forth between like what he's doing, but what people are seeing.
Oh,
And I cannot remember.
I don't know.
I wonder if it's the old Universal one. A lot of people have done those movies.
Could possibly be that, but it was a cut, like a hard cut back and forth between, and it was like
I don't know. I've never seen one. I've really never watched a Jekyll and Hyde movie.
I vividly remember.
Russell Crowe plays him in the 2017 The Mummy.
No,
don't watch it.
But it was a vivid.
Don't watch it.
And it could possibly be my brain playing
Tricks on you.
tricks on me. Like it was a
Filling in the
vivid.
gaps.
Transformation scenes in those old Universal monster movies are awesome. Just the way that filmmaking was done back then, where it's like the limitations were insane.
Yeah.
Compared
But
to
it was
now.
a hard cut between what we see and what was actually
what was
happening.
happening.
Yeah. Okay.
I love how he just gets yoinked into the ship, though. He like falls, the net gets him, and then just bye. Just gets
in the freezer with you.
Tossed everywhere. And I just love how everyone's like doing something in their rooms, and they could hear him just getting pulled through the ship.
It was
That's great.
That was a big.
It's a big man.
Like I was like, dang, he's not that big, but okay.
Yep. And then we meet.
This ship is huge.
And then he becomes Dr. Jekyll again. This is when Sawyer talks to Quartermain, and of course he's like checking out Mina, and he's like, "Yeah, she's out of your league." And then he tries to like flirt with her, and she shoots him down. And I was like, yeah,
Crushes him.
so then we get the whole scene about how they gotta study up on like how to stop the Phantom. This is when he throws Skinner out of his room. Skinner's just in his room.
Yeah, being Skinner
in
naked.
the dark.
Yeah,
Ew.
like what the hell was that? Because it doesn't play into anything other than the fact that later on Skinner is the bat, like he's on the Phantom side, or that's what everyone thinks, because he just kind of disappears. And we get the Quartermain and Nemo chatting about things, about the plan. Nemo senses that something's up. This is when he's in the wheelhouse. He finds like the gunpowder on the floor. He's like, oh, this is a little suspicious. So Quartermain and Sawyer, they talk about why Quartermain is there. He talks about how he was on a mission before, and he was with his son-in-law, and his son-in-law died, and so it's more of kind of like avenging his death type thing.
Quartermain didn't really want to be there because he was fighting with the director and wanted to leave.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The director killed his son-in-law. And
we're talking about Sean. We're talking about Sean Connery. Oh, okay. Yeah. We're not talking about Quartermain. Oh, okay. Yeah, and he's got to teach Sawyer how to properly shoot, because Sawyer he's an American. He shoots like an American. I like how he has to mention that, where he just shoots. And he shoots a lot of ammo until he finally hits something where Quartermain is very
pulls out his
patient.
revolvers.
Yeah, he's a very patient.
He shoots until
person.
he gets this shot.
Dude, that concept to me just blows my mind.
Because you're an American.
No, it is true. I am an American. And it's so the thing was, I think it was because this was in between, before World War One, and even though our military was using
which in this time it would have been.
Yeah, we would have been still using the Krag Jorgensen, which is a bolt action rifle. Or yeah, we should have been using the Krag at that point, I think. But anyhow, like we were still using single shot rifles or bolt action rifles. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if people are still thinking of lever guns and just being like, because in World War One we had a bolt action rifle. World War II we had a semi-automatic rifle. And once we get to the M16, everybody was freaking the fuck out because in the military, because like you can't give them that big of magazines; they'll just burn through ammo. This seems like way ahead of its time, but I don't know. I wasn't alive then. So,
but yeah, he teaches him how to be a patient. How to be patient when he shoots.
You don't have all the time in the world.
You don't.
You don't.
He
have
says it though.
You don't. You don't have it.
I really wish I remember that Barry Pepper quote from Saving Private Ryan.
I mean, at this time, he's already been James Bond. You don't have all the time in the world.
Sounds like a James Bond movie. You don't
listen. James Bond used his car to kill people.
Yeah.
Did 007 in a retirement home. Come on, Bond, let's get going.
You have shots coming out of your walker. Where's your walker?
You think he's got guns in his walker?
Yeah, he has guns in his walker.
Yeah, it's like it's where all the twisted metal drivers go to retire.
Yeah, and a little oil slick comes out of the handles in the back. Shit like
Dude used his hat as a weapon.
That was Odd Job.
He did. That was Odd Job. Yeah.
I mean, but this was before then.
So Sawyer, of course, says something that Quartermain doesn't like, so Quartermain just leaves him with his gun. Just walks away.
I said, because he brought up his son-in-law, I said, Quartermain's allowed to talk about his son-in-law. You are not.
Yeah, you don't know
me. You bring that up, that's a sore subject. He's out.
This is the second time you see Quartermain with that rifle. Not Quartermain, sorry. Sawyer with that rifle, and he does not use the fucking peep sight on it right. But carry on.
He's just like, I'm gonna tuck it under my, armpit. We're gonna.
Well, no, it's just the peep sight's up, but he's not looking down the peep sight. No. But anyway,
he's gonna put it under his armpit though.
So Quartermain, he's going back through, and he notices that Nemo is praying to like a statue of the god Kali, which is the goddess of death. And of course, to be honest, I feel like this doesn't play in anything. This is like, oh, should we trust him if he's praying to a god of death? And then it's like, oh, is that going to go anywhere? No, it doesn't.
No,
it plays.
There's a throwaway line.
Yep,
totally, 100%.
So we
it's
then
like, the cancer's back again line, and
Oh, Gray comes in to talk to Mina. Of course, she's a scientist, so she's doing her science stuff. And this is when you get the explanation from Dorian about his painting and why he doesn't age. So he has a painting of himself that ages instead of him. So every year it ages 1 year more, and he stays the same. And Jekyll is just kind of out there like, what are you saying? He's just, and he's not hiding very well, but clearly they don't see him. He's just kind of in the doorway, but it's like half of him in the doorway, just like, you don't see me. You don't see me. And they just start making out, Dorian and Mina. You're like, oh, okay. There we go.
And he's like the Hulk. If he gets a boner, he just turns into the Hulk.
No.
Like
see, unlike the Hulk, where Bruce Banner can just like he gets mad and then turns into the Hulk, he has to drink that elixir stuff to become Hyde.
But it is a turn on for vampires to drink blood.
Yes, because he accidentally cuts her and stuff like that.
So that's all she thinks about is what is going to happen when she drinks blood.
Yep.
And he knows that.
Oh yeah, he's playing.
Do you realize if they made a modern day Jekyll and Hyde, it would just be like the beta who turns into a Chad? You know what? Tell me I'm wrong.
Oh Lord.
You're not.
So this is when you kind of get the any moment that Jekyll sees a reflection of himself, it's always Hyde, and Hyde is like taunting him to turn, pretty much like let him out, let me out.
I like that because you can hear him talking, but you can't see him until he hits the reflection.
Yeah.
So you hear him talking, and you think he's talking to himself, but he's not.
Well, he is.
He is, but he isn't. It's almost like a schizophrenic.
Yeah.
Talking.
But it's
so he's talking to himself, but it's not himself.
Yeah. And I like how the fact that he's doing this and then Nemo catches him and he's just like, you all right there? He's like, yeah.
You mean
like,
after he's getting choked?
Yeah.
Choked by him?
Yeah.
Like fucking magic mirror powers. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and Nemo's a little skeptical. He's like, yeah, I'm going to keep an eye on you type deal. So they're in Venice and there's a carnival happening because every time they go somewhere where they're chasing the Phantom, there's always some sort of festival or carnival happening. And they need to locate the bombs without, alerting everybody. But unfortunately, the bombs go off as soon as they get there.
They try.
And this is when Sawyer and Quartermain, they hop in the car. And I think they all hop in the car. And then slowly, one by one, everyone just leaves to go do their thing. Like Mina hops out. She turns into fucking bats and starts attacking people.
It's Sawyer, Quartermain,
Gray,
Dorian, and...
Yeah, Dorian just hops out, does this weird sword fighting.
Everybody that hops out of this car...
Doesn't roll? Just lands on 2 feet?
Exactly.
Like, hey!
I'm like, how the hell did they just land on their 2 feet without rolling? Like,
bro, your ankles are broken.
Especially Quartermain. I can see Gray.
He broke a hip.
I said that in my notes. I'm like, how did he just land on his feet?
Quartermain just breaks the hip.
Watching it.
Oh no!
He's like, I'm fine. I'll walk it off.
Africa won't let my hips die.
But this entire sequence is all miniature work, which is fucking awesome. Anytime they show the car from like a farther distance, it's like an RC car. So
I can
cool.
see the only two people that could get out of that without hurting themselves
are the first two out of the car.
Dorian and Mina.
Yeah. Well, Mina just kind of turns into bats. Like, I don't even think she like jumps out.
She just kind of flies up. Yeah. She just kind of.
Yeah, Dorian, he does this thing where he's got the one hand behind the back and just the sword fight.
But you literally see his feet just.
Like perfect, like like you said, just like perfect, boop, like they slowed down to 2 miles an hour for the jump out and then back up to speed.
So yeah, Quartermain hops out, and then of course Sawyer crashes the car into the building, and then has to get the fuck out of there. I don't know how he survived the crash, but he gets out of there because that's the building that Nemo has to blow up because he has to like shoot a flare to blow up this building. to prevent any more
And
bombs going off.
he just happens to have ICBMs in his fucking ship too. Because why not?
Oh yeah, this ship is so equipped. Unbelievable.
He's got all the things.
So Dorian comes back, and you find out. So this whole, like I stated earlier, the whole time they think Skinner is the spy, but then you find out it's Dorian because Dorian shoots Ishmael, and then just
T-96.
just leaves.
Well, this whole time they think it's Skinner.
And you also find out that M is the Phantom. Whoa!
When he rips off his prosthetics, he doesn't need to actually have on. But
I mean, dude is a big guy. Phantom is a big guy. M is not as big as the Phantom. I mean,
it's a lot of work
like
for him.
Toilet paper in there, like I've seen women like pad their boobs with toilet paper. Like, is he padding his whole body?
It's all pillows.
And the work that he goes in to make his eye water and
all
be all like wide open and like it just seems like a lot to do just to hide yourself.
Some master craftsman making this mask.
Yeah.
Make sure you put that saline under your eye to make sure it looks goopy and gross.
Sounds like LARPing with a lot of extra steps.
Pokes himself in the eye and like, this is a good way to do it.
So Gray steals one of the pods that comes out of the side of the Nautilus and just pieces out.
Very slowly.
Just
drops turn it around first.
He would go in circles. He would literally go in circles.
Watching him.
He's like, "Can you guys help me back up? They haven't invented backup cameras. And I don't want to hit
turn it around. Okay, now we can go.
Okay, we go. You're not catching me
now. This way.
Don't worry. I got sonar on this thing so we can track.
Yes. The coolest map, though, the tracker thing where it's like the movable map and stuff. It's really cool.
It's pretty
He would have gone in circles, though. Like, the whole...
How do you drive this thing? It's like...
I want to know how Sawyer knows how to drive the car.
He's American.
It's a car.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he didn't kick it sideways into a crowd of fucking people.
They didn't have automobiles
They didn't have
like
automobiles.
that.
He's a quick
But Americans just know.
Yeah, he's just a quick learner.
Yeah, he does. He's been on a boat.
He's like, I got this.
And did you notice that there's 3 pedals at the bottom?
Oh, Lord.
So if you think about it, it should be gas, a clutch, a gas, and a brake.
Right.
Exactly.
When he goes to go, he just hits the gas.
Yeah.
The other pedals just sit there.
He's like, oh, there's a third pedal I have to every time.
Yeah,
you just see him trying to drive the car. Oh, shit. What's happening? I don't know how to drive this automobile.
It's like, what does this pedal do? It's like, well, that's the velocitator, and that one next to it's your
decelerator. That thing
deceleratrix.
back there, that's the flux capacitor. You can go back in time or to the
What's powering this? Just a really small guy like shoveling coal into a fucking oven. Like,
iceberg ahead!
Oh God!
Oh no!
Where did that come from?
I don't know.
What's it? Oh, Star Trek. What's his name?
Oh, Scotty?
No, I'm firing torpedoes.
Oh, Mr. Chekhov.
Yes, Mr. Chekhov. Mr. Chekhov just drives for him.
Yeah. So M and Gray, they send like a record that says everything that's going on. I'm like, why do villains tell the people that's trying to stop them what they plan on doing every time? They
At least they pointed out.
We're gonna go here, we're gonna go here, and we're gonna do this and this and this. And you're like,
ha, I got little pieces of all of you now in a little case.
Yeah.
At least they literally just say like, I'm only telling you this because you're gonna fucking die.
Yeah. Yeah, and it shows the fact that Dorian has been going around like taking DNA from everybody in the group.
Taking little things. We got a little jar, we got blood, we got maps.
Yep.
We got all the blueprints now.
Mm-hmm.
But they're small.
Yep.
Put them in this little thing.
So
I want to know how you got those printed up so quickly.
Right?
That was nice. This little like that perfect little like rectangular container that just fits all.
They have 3D printers at this time, right? You know, that's a thing, right?
Nemo has one in the back.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, he has all
The fucking jet
you know,
printer.
thing.
How in the hell?
he has all this future technology. Why not?
What do you want for food? Well, I got a microwave in the back.
Oh, what?
What?
What is that?
What is
That microwave would actually give you cancer.
Oh, it's just a fusion reactor sitting like you just put your bowl of soup underneath. The heat'll heat it up.
Listen, if the
Worry about
Nautilus
it.
doesn't give you cancer, you're good with a microwave.
All right. So bombs go off on the ship. They blow up the ship. Starts sinking. Jekyll gets like
They go off because of the high pitch.
right. Yes,
Like
because they're trying to get Hyde to.
that's in the undertone of this record that's playing.
Yep.
Because he's like, turn it off, and you're like, you know something's going on with him.
This is
The
a
whole
Loki
scene.
move from the Avengers.
Dude, everything on the fucking Nautilus. I was like, is this the
It
helicarrier?
is.
What's going on? Don't trust this person. They're
But,
fucking. What's wrong with this
yeah.
person? Who's grabbing the scepter? Shut the fuck up,
He's-
Mark Ruffalo. You're gonna kill us all. Like, that's what it felt like. I'm surprised. Like, I'm gonna activate the fucking Hyde with sound waves, and you're all gonna die.
But he's trying to get them. He's like, please turn it off.
Yeah.
And you're like,
But it's not working.
he's trying
'Cause
so
they're fucking
hard.
losers, dude.
And you can see it. From somebody that's watching it, I can see it in his eyes. Like, here I've not seen this movie for
100 years, 4,000 years.
almost 20 years now. Like, I remember seeing it the first time it came out,
Yeah.
or thinking my brain plays tricks on me. But here I am, like, he's trying to tell you guys something. You probably should listen. And they're like, no. So here I am. I'm like, please listen to him.
Well,
I'm
'cause-
like, I'm having the same problems he is. Like, I know he's having issues listening to this.
Yeah.
I'm having
Yeah,
issues.
because Dr. Jekyll, you just like, my ears are just bothering me. And like, it
Yeah.
doesn't, like, it's bothering him a little bit, but it's like
It
clearly.
really doesn't
fucking with
matter
the
though,
drive.
because all it does is Hyde persuades him to transform, and then he ends up just saving the ship.
But
He opens
even-
up the hatchway that releases all the water, and now Hyde is part of the
which
team.
everybody is
He's
gonna
like,
like. have-
hoorah later. So
Well, and
But
then
no,
They all put
I'm
their
like-
hands in.
yeah.
I'm like high pitch. Like, I don't like this high pitch. Whatever I'm hearing.
All right, to be honest, I feel like we're looking way too far into this. Because to be honest,
Yeah,
I didn't
that's right.
understand it because the fact that Hyde literally saves the ship. So it's not the Hulk moment where the Hulk fucking destroys a bunch of shit and then just gets shot off to the fucking earth. Like, it's
Dude, I'm
literally like
surprised I
I felt like it was that moment though, but it doesn't go anywhere. Hyde ends up being the hero. I
They
don't
would
know.
all have broken legs.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Probably.
The people that are hanging on,
oh yeah,
like, you can
Oh,
see
the
them.
water's going
I'm like,
down.
like,
oh.
shit, that's a far fall. Shit. Oh my god.
Yeah, they've all got broken legs.
So-
But no, like, me physically hearing this high pitch, like, I don't know if anybody else can hear this high pitch.
I mean, I heard it in the movie.
Like, you probably could hear it in the
Yeah,
movie.
it's supposed to be for just dogs,
Probably
right?
like the dog whistle thing.
That's what it's supposed to be. He says it's like it's a high pitch tone only dogs are supposed to be able to hear.
Yeah.
And there's certain things that I can hear
But
that he can't.
Angela's superhuman,
true.
everybody.
yes.
I have great smell, and I have great hearing,
Almost too good.
and I hate it. No, I hate
It's
it.
suspicious.
There's certain things that I smell, and I'm like, "Do you smell that?" And he's like, "No."
As I'm
And I'm
snorting
like-
coke, like I can't smell anything right now. Dude. No, just kidding. Just kidding. Carry on.
Oh,
I'm
no.
sorry.
So they venture to
Pregnant woman hearing and smelling. Just saying.
wait. Pregnant women get good hearing too. What? I don't.
Ask your wife.
Well,
They channel the
once
power.
once the kids show up, their hearing gets better.
No, they have
Because then
two
they hear
humans, so they function together.
He's hanging off the banister again.
Parker's like, "Shut
We're
up."
not even at home.
And he's right. I don't know.
I'm
So they
sorry,
go.
Brad.
Do they go to Siberia? Is this where they're at? Because I
They're like
missed
the
it. Was there a
Himalayas.
card that said where they were? I don't.
Yeah,
I don't
they're
know.
Somewhere in China. No, it's
I don't think
it was
Mongolia
somewhere
and there's
there.
snow.
Mongolia. Okay. Well, the only reason I thought it was Siberia is because he comes face to face with a Siberian tiger.
The tiger. Yeah.
Yes.
But I don't know the range. Maybe they're
And
Mongol.
did
too.
it feel like there was a lot of snow falling from the ground? Like,
Oh my god. Yeah. So
I mean,
much.
the submarine pops up in the middle of
A frozen lake?
frozen
It's
something.
definitely the ocean.
So it's
It had to be cold as fuck for that water to freeze.
Yeah. Still happens.
No, I'm just saying.
Nemo's wearing his blue at that point. Everyone
Yes.
else has jackets. The next scene, he's in white.
I missed
There-
that.
and they all end up with shoot, what is it? Star Wars?
The red jackets?
No, the white jackets. Everybody's in white.
With their
Um,
fur
Oh, on
Yeah.
off.
Hot,
Hoth,
yeah.
Yeah,
yes.
Hoth.
God damn.
Everybody is in their Hoth wear.
Yep.
That's pretty much what it is.
That's a good one. Patting that one. But they find M's compound. It's just there. Just, they go over a ridge and they're like,
Hanging out.
oh shit, look at that.
They're all like, "Ooh, okay."
Well, the only reason they find it out is because what's his name stowed away? The man that turns invisible.
Yes. Yes.
I love
Skinner
when
shows
he's like, I'm not wearing anything.
He's like, I'm naked
I can't feel
in
any of
it's
my
freezing.
extremities.
And he
Any
grabs-
of them.
Any of
He
them.
grabs
I
some
was
Mina
like-
cheek while he's at it. He's like,
Oh yeah, he like beep, beep, pinches her. Yeah.
and Mina's all like, please don't touch me.
It's like,
even though she
oh.
could wreck his shit.
She
Yeah.
could see him.
Oh yeah.
She could wreck his shit.
So yeah, we get the it was kind of a really jarring scene too, where he comes face to face with the tiger because it just looks so bad. Like it looks so green screened. It's just like, oh Lord.
This tiger's in a zoo.
Yeah.
Try to cover it with a lot of snow.
Yeah. And there was definitely not an actual white tiger. They just they took an actual tiger and just like, all right, this is your job there,
This is
Brian.
what you're looking
Fucking
at.
color
Like,
that tiger
okay.
white. There are white Siberian tigers out there, but this one definitely wasn't real. I mean, it was a real tiger, just not white.
Not where you are.
So Skinner tells the crew about the compound that he's been hiding away with M and his crew. Of course, he's invisible, so they never found out he was with them. And they're like, "Hey, sorry, we thought you were the spy, but you didn't know we thought you were the spy. But we're sorry anyways."
Oh, he even says that. He's like, I knew you guys would not believe me. Like, you'd
Yeah.
think I was the spy. He's like, I'm fucking bolted. It's
I
like,
mean,
I'm not
that
an
would
idiot.
be the first one that I would
Oh, yeah.
come toward because nobody can see you and you could turn invisible at any point.
Yeah.
He was butt-ass naked at fucking Quartermain's office, probably rubbing one out when he walked in there. He's like, get the fuck out of here, dude.
I mean,
That's why he kicked him out. He's like, "You got the good stuff, man."
When he shows up with the book in the first scene, you're like, oh, he was probably rubbing his junk up against you.
I know, dude. How many times you just like clip people with it? What the fuck was that? Did you just touch me? Like,
Just
no,
because
dude,
he's invisible doesn't mean you don't know if dick just slapped you in the leg.
I know, dude. Don't- what?
What touched me? I don't
So-
know.
Please tell me it's your hand.
So he tells him that there's an elixir that's being made that M is going to use to create an army, to try to take over the world. He's going to try to start a war, benefit from this elixir and the weapons that he's making, and be the richest man in the world.
Because the bad guy always has to give
Yes.
everything away.
Mm-hmm. And so the crew breaks into the
I want
compound.
everybody to know what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, they break in. You get Sawyer and Quartermain. They go off together, and of course, you get more of Sawyer just saying things. I'm going to follow you. I'm right behind you. Oh, I'm just like, shut up, my God.
Show us, don't tell, please.
This is not a show and tell kindergarten moment.
No,
Of course,
we-
they all meet up though, and this is when you get the hoorah moment where everybody puts their hands in, except for Sawyer, because Sawyer's not a team player. And then I love how Hyde just looks at him
baby.
like, "Fuck you, man! Put your fucking hand
Yeah.
in." He's like, "I
He's
don't want
American.
to." And then they're like,
Sawyer just puts fucking sunglasses on. Like, those don't exist yet. What the fuck are you doing? Go to on the show.
So Skinner sets up explosives around the compound. Nemo frees prisoners, and Quartermain and Sawyer go after M. So they go to his office. He's in there getting a shave or a haircut or whatever he was doing. And all this guy knows how to do is just run. He just run. Every time he gets caught, he's just like, well, time to run. He fights sometimes, but he's more of just I'm going to get out of here type of thing.
He just like leaves his his face mask on the on his, table where everybody can see. Like we don't know what you're doing.
Dude's an idiot.
I just like how Nemo's got a big, just a group of his guys that come with him. Like, hey, free these guys. Oh, hey, you're all gonna probably die because they run into this room, and that's when everybody's the guys with the automatic weapons start shooting down on him, killing a bunch of his men. And then there's like the Iron Man guy with the flamethrower just coming out of nowhere,
dude.
And that's when you get crazy
Sawyer,
guy.
Yeah.
Sawyer shoots him in the face or wherever he's shooting him, up and down. Like, do you not know what metal is at this point? Apparently he doesn't.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, even when they're shooting a lot of the bad guys, you notice the squibs make sparks in the chest, but then the guys go down like they're dead. I'm like, well, it didn't really work. You didn't have any other place to put your...
It's not how that goes, but okay.
I mean, just shoot them where you think they're going to get hit, not... Like, you have to know at this point what metal is.
Yeah, shoot him in the leg. They can't be metal everywhere.
They can't be metal everywhere.
No.
And he's got this big old...
Yeah.
But the
Shoot him
funniest,
right in the ass.
But the funniest thing is after they fight all these guys is when you see Crazy Man, who comes out with his eyes like this. He's just like, he's literally the human form of the Tasmanian devil. He's fucking, all he didn't do is just spin around. He's like, and I'm just
This
like, what the
happens to be a
fuck is
big
this guy?
flask right there.
But he did.
Yeah,
He did turn around.
The biggest fucking thing. He's just fucking gulping that shit, and fucking Hydra's like, not the whole thing.
It just says Acme on the side of the flask.
No, it just has an X on it.
Yes, yeah.
Because he landed on his back and then he does a whole 360.
This formula was how the Powerpuff Girls were born.
Well, I was expecting it to be like the Big Trouble in Little China when the guy gets really mad, just seeing him blow up.
No.
I mean, you don't see
Instead,
that
we get
yet.
the Abomination showing up with one
and
really
it's-
big arm.
Okay, the cock ripper.
It's you. Listen, people.
Bam!
People say that The Rock as the Scorpion King at the end of The Mummy Returns is bad CGI. This Hulk thing is.
Oh, this Hulk thing was better than that.
Oh,
it is.
You think so?
Oh yeah, that Scorpion
it is,
King
yeah.
is awful.
Go watch it back
Awful.
to back. Like I can remember this scene. Like this is.
I just
not
watched
good,
The Mummy
but it is
Returns
better.
today. I love it.
You
I
just
don't.
need a
I mean, yes, that scene.
side-by-side.
That look is not good, but I love that movie so much. It doesn't look good in this movie either. The Hulk thing.
You can like a movie, but there's certain parts where you're just like,
But of course, they give him the same crazy face where he's just his eyes are like this. Just fucking.
just put some
fighting.
googly eyes on him, and you got it.
But see, isn't the potion supposed to bring out the opposite in you, or bring out the bad in you? But he's already a bad guy.
I know it just turns him into a really nice. Hello,
Well,
nice to meet you.
It would have been. I don't think it'd been fun if he was just skipping around going tra la la, handing out flowers. And
It would have been funny. He could have just beat his ass.
And
done with it.
Hyde just literally just slap back, just backhands him.
But he's also
Connor's like, that was
not
my
the whole thing. Like he knows what could happen
Oh, no.
if he drinks the whole thing.
Yeah.
And the whole scene where he's just like,
I know, and he doesn't even drink half of it. Over half it ends up on the floor or his face.
I'm like, are you gonna inhale it?
Did you
or
see when he
drink
gets towards
it,
the end
or-
though?
It just kind of goes.
He just kind of does this.
He does
I'm like, is
this.
this
He
a fucking
covers his face like he's showering.
And after shooting that day, he went and told his wife, he's like, "Oh my god, you got to see my scene. I went for it, and it was amazing."
She's like, I'm so proud of you, honey.
Pats him on the
Exactly.
back.
Like,
Good job. Good job.
And then they
sport.
see it in the theater, and they're just like,
I'm so proud of you.
yes, we made it.
And you can tell he's like, dude, yes. And she just
110%,
looks over him. She's like, what the
I'm
this?
me every day with you.
Yeah,
Just kidding.
absolutely.
Just
That's
kidding.
exactly. That's how I know.
So yeah, I love when Nemo just comes in and does this really fast sword fighting with the creature, and then the creature just backhands him against the wall.
I was pissed. I wish you would just
Yeah.
turned into a pile of sliced meat.
Yeah, and he
Like,
pretty
I'm like,
much and Hyde's literally it's gonna wear off at some point. It's not gonna last forever. And
But he's also knocked Hyde across the room twice,
Mhm.
and Hyde's like, Nemo.
That's
Like,
all he
what
does
the
is yell
hell
at
do
Nemo,
you think you
Uh.
do? He's just gonna watch him Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. We also find out M is Moriarty, who is like one of the like big villains in the Sherlock Holmes stories.
Yeah, it's like a twist on a twist. Like,
damn.
oh, he's the Phantom. Now it's M. Now it's Moriarty.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
And
like
he's
how
like,
he doesn't even
"No."
admit that's who he is, though, because he says, "Oh, you're Moriarty," and he's like, "What? That guy? Like that really smart guy? Like, nah, that's not me." And then it
Like he
never
winked at him,
clarifies
like,
that's actually who he is. Oh, so
Sherlock Holmes was too busy getting high.
Literally.
To be in the
'cause
fucking
that's
movie.
what Sherlock Holmes did.
Yeah, he chased the dragon.
we get the
Him
Mina.
and Jack the Ripper, they were buddies. They were buddies.
Well,
they
we
had
do
to,
we do get a Jack the Ripper mention in this where they show up to, I think, Dorian Gray's house, and it's like, oh, who's in there? Jack the Ripper. So yeah, so Moriarty, he escapes with the goods. He runs away. We get the Mina. Yeah, just
He needed what he needed to do. He needed like that laugh to like stop at the door and look back and be like, and
Yeah, I
keep
know.
going.
I wish he had a little mustache he could twirl. Like they probably
literally-
CG'd that out. That's probably why.
we get the Mina and Gray fight, and Gray, you think Gray wins. He stabs her, and you think she dies on the bed. And
I like their fight
yep,
because neither one can die. Because
Yep.
they're like, we could be at this all day.
Sawyer ends up fighting another Invisible Man.
Not wearing his bowler hat.
No,
No.
and also a flamethrower, and the flamethrower guy from before just shows up again and is doing his thing. And fuck being this guy. I would not want to be this guy. Be like, hey, all right, so you guys get to volunteer. You have to be some part of this military, but we'll give you a choice. Why you're not picking, unless he was the low man on the totem pole, you're not picking the flamethrower guy because
It was
fuck
rock,
that
paper,
suit.
scissors.
That
No.
suit sucks.
He lost.
Oh, that is
Best 3 out of
awful.
5.
He couldn't bend his he couldn't bend his knees. He's literally stiffened like the whole time. I'm surprised he was able to aim the flamethrower in any
His
direction.
Now he's
eyes.
just sweating
His
like
eyes
crazy
when he
in there
turned
too.
the
Oh
corner.
yeah.
He's
He's just like,
dying of heat exhaustion.
It's
put
just
me out of my
it-
misery.
I get what they're going for. It's super impractical.
Yeah.
It is, but if I picked anybody, I would want to be flamethrower guy.
Well, you want to be a flamethrower guy. But if you step wrong,
Listen,
you're
you
gonna
can light
turtle.
everything
Yeah.
on fire. They don't have to know. They don't have to know this.
But look at we're both clumsy people. You're gonna miss a stair wrong, fall over, or a hole in the ground, and you're fucking turtled, and you're done. I'm like, you're out.
No,
Like ain't nobody
listen.
picking you up.
I am going to trip over my own feet and be on the ground. That is me.
Like, bye,
I've done it.
Hey Chuck, could you just roll me over?
please.
No, not down the hill. Ah!
So Skinner saves him and he gets severely burned. I do like the shot though when he's on fire, but he's still invisible and he's just running away. It's such a funny. It made me laugh. It was
Oh, that's good. It's like, oh, where are
Yeah.
you going?
Yeah, bye.
Wait a minute.
You
Who are
back, you
you?
fucking coward, just because you're on fire a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, we get more fighting between Hyde and the Mega Hyde. We get Mina waking up and killing Dorian in the. You thought the Mega Hyde CGI was
Oh,
this
this
was
is rough.
on the verge of not good. This
This is the worst in the movie. It has
So
to
this
be.
is when Mina wakes up. She stabs Dorian into the wall and he can't get out. And she finds his painting. And the painting,
Overlook
of
all of
course, yeah, and she unwraps it and you see the painting first, and it's just a skeleton, pretty much, with hair. And it shows it to Dorian, and you hear before of the fact that, like, if he looks at the picture, he loses all his powers. So pretty much what it does is it brings the youth back to the painting and kills him. And the transformation is not good. It's not
I think it
good.
was terrible.
They did a
Terrible.
better,
I can
they did a
overlook
better
this.
job. The one I'm going to compare it to that was awesome was in Last Crusade with the villain of that movie transforming, like when he drinks the
that was
wrong
all
Grail.
Practically done though.
But-
This is all CG. So
Come on, we could have done that. It would have looked awesome to get that
It-
like
it would've,
practical
True.
breakdown.
They could've
It was just. I think it was more
practically
weird
done
because it was
this.
just like it was like tongue sticking out and shit, and his face is like convulsing. Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't.
I
It
can
wasn't the worst thing I've
overlook
ever
it.
seen, but it was also just like, whoa, okay. It was still pretty cool though. I just
I
hated
like
that
it.
character, so I was glad he died.
He was
boring.
So boring.
I like
That he was boring, but I do like his death.
I like the scuttling ticks in Ticks better than I do his death.
Yeah, we're not talking about that movie right now.
So
The flying tick.
Quartermain fights M, and no, Matilda breaks. They're like, no, not the gun, not the cool gun.
Lever action breaks.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought
The lever action
I thought
breaks.
his gun breaks.
No,
Nope, the
because
lever
Tom's gonna use it here soon.
That's right, he does.
The lever action should not have broken with
Cross
this.
out that, no.
Unless,
No, fuck
Scratch
no. That
from
gun
the
would not have
record. I
broke
didn't
like
say
that.
unless it was hit with something.
That son of a bitch had to be run over with something heavy. You wouldn't like hit him with something and just snap it. No.
No.
Would not have broken.
That's why I thought it was his gun, because his gun was like made out of like just wood.
So his lever action was a lot longer than this one.
Well, no, his lever action rifles are carbines.
I was gonna say the gun he had was a lever
Matilda is long because Matilda gets knocked away. He gets knocked away. He blocks it. It breaks. He goes to get Matilda out, and that gets knocked away because that's what. Yeah, whatever.
But Matilda is a lot longer than a regular rifle.
Matilda is the longest gun I've ever seen. Like,
It's
for a man to hold.
Yeah, it's just a double barrel rifle. So
But it's a lot longer than any rifle I've ever had.
But that's for hunting. It's not designed for. Well, you got to think the 1898 Mauser is long as fuck, and they're like, we need to make a short one for World War I, so they made the carbine model, and they're like, that's too long. We need to make a shorter one for World War II, and they made the carbine of the fucking carbine. So like, it's like,
is that how you actually say it?
Carbine, yes.
Oh, I thought it was carbine.
Yeah, it's whatever.
Tomato.
I don't judge. I mean, I do, but I just don't say nothing about it.
It's a however you want to say
fine.
it.
It's however you want to say it.
It's a not wrong.
So the bombs go off, and this is when the big beast dies. It's like they get trapped in a room. Jekyll is back, and he's trying to reach him, but the bombs go off, and a bunch of debris lands on top of him.
He's got the
crazy eyes and the.
He's got the big icicle, and he's like.
But that's not the first time you've seen the icicle. Like, okay, is he gonna like get hit in the head with it? Like, no, he's gonna grab it.
Yeah, they escape as the compound blows up. M stabs Quartermain in the back and just glides away like fucking Batman. No joke, stabs Quartermain, runs out a crack of the wall, and just glides down.
Yep.
Just
you'll never catch me.
He needed another laugh.
Oh, so good.
It's Batman. You should.
We already established that somebody in this movie was Batman. What are you?
Yeah. Batman. Yeah, he's some relation. Moriarty has to be some relation to the Waynes. Has to be.
That was for the sequel that never got made.
Yeah,
exactly.
Batman was going to come in and help him defeat Zombie at Quartermain.
So
I don't use guns.
I need to write down some of the stuff that we say because there was a lot of comments that were made well before this that I was like, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. So this is when it's like Sawyer gets to prove himself that he knows how to properly shoot, and he ends up killing.
Quartermain pulls out his glasses and like, oh crap, they're broken.
Yep.
Sawyer, you got to do it.
You got to do it. Yeah, and he's dying. But he's
when
not
they were
making that
shooting
obvious.
before
From the knife into the shoulder blade. That's when I feel like he got stabbed. But okay.
Did he like?
Or he told M
accidentally
like, "Can you just stab me a little to the left because I want to die? Fuck this.
Yeah,
I'm done.
Please."
Yeah. And he makes the shot, kills Moriarty, and all of the vials and like that box that had all the stuff in it. It falls into the ocean. And then Quartermain dies. You're like, oh, man.
Listen, that was a little bit dramatic. He was like,
it was great. I loved it. It's just like,
bury me with my money.
Nothing is as bad as
Like,
the villain from Dark Knight Rises in the truck at the end of the movie.
he's like,
fuck.
yes.
Talia al Ghul.
Yeah, she literally is she's just like this, and then she just goes. It's so dramatic.
Why is
his whole facial thing between him being up close and him far away is so different. Like, he just looks at peace when he's far away, but then you see him up close and he's just like, oh.
Bye. See ya.
It's like they did a countdown. He's like, oh, I missed that. Let's do it again.
I got stabbed in my one weak spot. Where at my right shoulder blade?
That was probably the first take, and he's probably like, let's do it again. And Norrington was like, nope, that's all you get.
That was it. That was the last straw. Fuck you, Connery.
I'm gonna make your death look like shit in this movie.
Yeah, this is gonna be my last movie. Fuck you.
It's gonna be my last movie. It's gonna be your last movie too.
So yeah, Quartermain gets buried in Africa, right next to you. Now find out is his son-in-law, which is weird because it says Quartermain on the grave, but if he was his son-in-law, he wouldn't technically be named Quarter. I don't know.
Maybe he was adopted. He took him in.
Could have been. Yeah,
they adopted him.
Sure.
You're not 18 yet. I'm gonna.
Yeah, and of course, everybody says their goodbyes.
Daddy.
And Skinner doesn't die though. Was he there?
No, you figured. Yeah, he was. Yeah,
he was there at the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you get that really sad scene where Sawyer finds him as he's all charred up, and you think he dies, but he doesn't die. But yeah, you see it zooms in on like a witch doctor performing shit, and then you see the ground start to vibrate, and then the gun's on top, and it's setting up for a sequel. But
bless the rains down.
No. It's Black Hole Sun.
Yep. Well, yeah, because it does that thing with the sky. Yeah, it's Black Hole Sun.
Yep. And yeah, that's it. That is the end of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Insane.
Yeah.
Quartermain comes back as a zombie, but he doesn't use guns anymore. He uses the souls of the animals he's hunted and killed.
There you go.
So
he's like evil Craven the Hunter. Even more evil.
Yeah.
Zombie Craven. Anyway, go ahead.
So before we don't have any comments on this episode. So
nobody wanted to talk about it.
That makes me
Wait,
sad.
I had somebody.
She did.
Okay, well, before we get to that, since Angela yelled at me last week during the episode, let's talk about what we thought of this movie.
Yeah, dear.
So in the beginning, we did our experience with the movie. Now after going through the plot and everything, let's do a little summary of our thoughts on this movie before we get to the end.
You two, not you.
You did it this week.
Well, Brad's going to start.
Because that's what happens last week.
Go ahead, Brad.
I mean, I enjoyed this movie. I enjoyed this movie when I first saw it. I enjoyed this movie on, a subsequent rewatch. I've watched it many times before, but this is just a fun movie. It's one of those, for me, I would watch this as a double feature with The Shadow because I like that movie just as much. Just a fun, old school adventure ride. Just turn your brain off, have fun.
Hey, we all know there's certain movies that I like that you two didn't like. Turn your brain off while you watch it.
Is that your answer? Is that your final answer?
No, I love this movie.
Oh, okay.
I loved it then, loved it now. Like, I only yelled at him because it was what's your experience with this movie? And they decided that they wanted to say how they liked it.
No,
you can't say
that. You did not. That's not what you yelled at me for last week. Okay, you yelled at me because I said the comments from Twitter before I talked about what we thought of it.
Listen,
which
you said that's not how it goes.
It's not how it goes.
Fuck Twitter. Anyway,
you don't like
X.
Twitter anymore.
X.
Oh man. All right.
Going to give it to you. Anyhow, do you have anything else to add? I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off.
No, I just there. I have one comment on.
All right, good.
Okay,
we have something.
I like this movie. I enjoy it. It's a fun ride, dude. We were watching the movie, and it was during the Venice car driving scene.
Yeah.
And Victor walked in. He's like, "Are you guys watching League of Extraordinary Gentlemen?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "I love this movie. We watched it in history class last year." I was like, "At least they show good movies at school."
Really? Wow.
I know. I was
Yeah.
like, "It's awesome.
Wow.
It's an awesome movie."
He
Crazy.
came from downstairs, upstairs. He's like, I know what that movie is, and I was like, Hell yeah.
So listen, it's not like a great movie. It's a fun action movie, and that's all it needs to be.
Yeah.
It's enjoyable. The characters are quirky. I mean, some aren't great, but most of them are pretty quirky. They got their one-liners and stuff, and it's fun. And that's all that matters.
But Saris came in the room when Mina Harker was doing her thing at the boat before they got on the Nautilus. And I was like, sis, do you know who that is? I was like, that's Mina Harker. And she's like, that's my middle name.
Yeah.
And I'm like, she's like, is that a real character? And I'm like, yeah.
As real as fiction can be, baby.
I'm like, she's playing the character that's, that your name came from. And she's like,
yeah. She's 7, mind you, for those of you that don't know.
Yeah, she's 7.
Really excited.
So she gets excited when she learns where her name comes from.
She's like me. So. She's like easily excited by things.
Well, yeah.
Not that it's a bad thing.
I'm that way.
But it has to do with her name, so she's like, okay.
Yeah. But it was a good time. Yeah, Dodgy's a little bit of CG here and there, but there's a lot of cool practical, a lot of cool fighting. It's fun.
I can look past that. That's definitely something I can look past.
It's fun. Just watch it if you haven't seen it. It's fucking fun.
I'm watching it again.
Yep.
So yeah, I love this movie. To be honest, even after rewatching, I want to rewatch it again without having to take notes because I know I missed things. Even though I have seen this movie many times, I just want to sit down and just experience this movie without having to do what we do for the show. It still hits. Yes, it has some shoddy CGI, but it was 2003, and to be honest, I saw way worse CGI after this movie came out. So even though I was a little harsh on a couple of the shots, there's still far worse shots that I've seen in movies, that came out after and even came out around the same time as this. It's unfortunate that, Sean Connery walked away after this movie. And to be honest, it's kind of sad to see that Stephen Norrington walked away because I don't think even though he only really had 2 big movies under his belt, I feel he probably could have done some good stuff down the road. I mean, clearly
I agree.
His movies made money and he could have been reliable to do something, but clearly, fucking Sean Connery fucking ruined that.
Way to go, Mr. Connery.
Yeah, so
I can see where both of them are coming from.
Yeah.
Sean Connery comes from,
he's an old school actor.
He's old school.
He started in the 50s. I get it.
And Norrington's the new school at the time because he had Blade, and then he's doing this.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sean Connery's like, I don't get these movies.
Yep.
All right, Angela, you want to read your comment?
Well, so when I posted on Twitter earlier, I said, I used to love this movie. Do I still love it? And at Dork of all dorks, Heather Sachs says, I still do.
Oh,
so I feel that.
I got called out because I said this was Sean Connery's last movie, and technically it wasn't.
This is his last on-screen
action.
appearance, live action.
Yeah. He did a couple animated movies, but we said it before. They're not worth mentioning because they were awful.
Exactly.
But yeah, that is it. That is the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Next week we're going to be
LXG
or LXG.
Yes.
Fuck yeah!
I had to think a couple of times when I've seen that. I was like,
This makes me think of Most Extreme Elimination Challenge. And if anybody remembers watching that fucking show,
oh yeah,
it's like, what the hell is this? Watching it for years, and I'm like, I see that MXC, and I was like, huh?
Yeah.
But I love watching that.
Yeah.
So good.
Next week, we're going to be venturing back into the Conjuring universe as we're number 2 for the Annabelle adventure as we go to 2017's Annabelle Creation. Yeah, this is it's exciting. So
no, it's not. But we'll do
super exciting. Dan and Angela are so happy we're doing this franchise.
I mean,
thank you, Dustin.
Love haunted dolls.
Brad.
Yes.
Where can people find you? What you got going on over there with the Cinema Guys or Tubi Tuesday?
You can find everything Cinema Guys. Just go to wearethecinemaguys.com and you can find links to our YouTube and TikTok. That's where I am most active, and links to our show. And then at Tubi Tuesday on social media. That's just me and my fun Tubi watches. I love Tubi. Spend a lot of time in that world.
Yes.
Watching the
please follow this man on TikTok. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he gives awesome recommendations.
Every week I give my
Tubi.
Tubi picks. 3 picks for the week.
Yeah, I have to write them all down. I'm like, oh shit. Oh my god, there's so many. And of course a lot of them I've already seen because there's, like I said, Tubi is not just like some people think of Tubi as like, oh, that's just a bunch of bad movies. No, they put some bangers on there.
There are plenty of bad ones on there.
Yeah,
Don't get me wrong.
The Tubi originals.
Well, listen, when
I
you're
got
free,
challenged to watch one, so I also do. I've moved my Tubi stuff over to the Old Man Brad podcast, so listen for that. And I got challenged to watch Deadly Dilf. I'll be doing a review of that soon. Tubi original.
Holy hell, that sounds like a me movie. Like we should watch this.
Awesome.
That sounds like what I picked last week.
Yeah, you told me what we watched last week, right?
Oh, the Shark and Saw Women's Prison Massacre.
I've seen that on there. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
exactly
great. You
what
need to
think
watch it.
It was a watch. It was something.
It was a watch.
It was something.
It was a movie.
It was exactly what you expected from just the title itself. But yes, all the links for Cinema Guys and just everything to do with Brad will be down in the description.
I'm everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm everywhere.
All of Angela and Dan's links are also down in the description. You can find us at Dissect That Film on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. We're on Threads now. There's that. There's so many of them now. We're, of course, if you're watching us, we're on YouTube, youtube.com/Dissect That Film. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It's all free. If you, wherever you listen to us, make sure you leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Actually, I don't even know if you can rate on Google Podcasts, but you can on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and on Good Pods, which is cool because you can leave reviews on individual episodes, and on the show itself. And the more reviews we get, the more ears our show goes into. So it's pretty cool. So please help us out. It's great. Also, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/Dissect That Film, where for $1 you can get our episodes early, up to a week early. And then we have a $5 tier where you get extra content, some extra Patreon exclusive shows. Like we're doing our own Tubi show called Out of the Tubi, where we once a month we pick a Tubi movie to cover, or a movie that's on Tubi to cover. And then we have our Monster Zone show, which is hosted by Dan and Angela, where we spin a wheel at the end of the month and we talk about 2 monster movies that span decades. What are we covering? I don't know when this episode's going to release. I think it's in August. What movies are we covering for this month?
For August, it's Varan the Unbelievable, and the other one was
Black Scorpion.
Yes, Black Scorpion.
Very good.
Stop motion classic.
So for $5, you can get all those exclusive shows, and and all of everything you guys give to us, we put right back to the show. So we appreciate all the support. But this show right here, this one you're listening to, will always be free. Because that's just how it goes,
Yes.
And that's about it for us. Until next time, I am Brett Parker. That is Dan and Angela of DNA Gaming, and that is Brad of the Cinema Guys. This has been the Dissect That Film podcast, episode 119. We'll see y'all again next time. Bye.
Bye.